Hi, everybody, and welcome to a Wednesday, because I know what day it is. A Wednesday here on the Dotlight. I am clearly not in a state of fatigue from, quarantine work life. At least not anymore, because I took a break this weekend. And I'm very excited to be back this week after... Gosh, I've been trying to explain to people the vibe of this game, like this campaign. Because it is, like, serious and kind of heavy, but in this kind of magical, heartfelt way. And I am so excited to be back after last week, which was so impactful, is all that I have to say about it, especially what the players brought to the table in terms of the roleplay, and all of that, which I'll get into in our hashing out of last week's episode. So let's go around and meet these incredible people. For all of you in chat, I welcome you. I'm so glad that you are here. And remember that you can help support this stream. That is what the shatter bar below is all about, and it's already partially full, thanks to some bits that came in before I ever hit the go button. So when we fill it, the overlight shatters. Good things, bad things, doesn't really matter, because the overlight is just the overlight. So we'll have to find out what happens when you do it. So bits, tips, help, and help support us. And more importantly, if you are part of our Patreon, know that every little dime that you give helps go to paying this incredible cast and their talents. So let's go around and meet them. And we're going to start with Kai. You up? Tell us who you are. Who you playing?
I am Kai, and I'm playing Maddox. She is a Zenith Order monk. I don't know if I'm mixing those words up. She is also a scholar of the Unbroken Sky. Mm-hmm. She's a little bit of an artist. She is helping document all of our adventures through art.
And by a little artist, you rolled a critical success last week on creating what is probably one of the most important pieces of art in all of the history of the shards.
Yay, that's cool.
Too bad it's going to be used for sacrifice, but it's fine.
No, that one isn't. It's the other one.
Oh, that's right. You did the mask. You did the mask of Ares. Oh, that's right. I totally forgot. Okay, yeah. It's still an important piece.
Into the circle of the
Clear
what
ink?
Is it? Circle of ink, yeah.
Yeah, of clear ink, yeah.
Clear
absolutely,
ink.
yeah.
That's
Thank you
right.
out there for all these hosts and this love you're all throwing in chat, and I really appreciate it.
Yes.
Very nice, very nice.
But we know what the most important piece of art is Aramis's tattoo.
Yes.
Right. Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Correct. Yeah, the most important piece of art, pride from its own body.
No, the one that she's gonna make for Aramis.
Oh, you mean the commissioned piece?
Because friendship is magic.
Because
I'm
friendship
just doing
is
art all
magic.
over the place.
Who knows? Maybe your calling as a monk was a little too soon. What you should have been was an artist.
Maybe.
Monks can be artists.
Monks can be artists. Monks can't. Well, this monk is an artist. There is no can. It is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, another character. We get to go to their home shard today, in fact. But Trooper, tell us who you are and who you're playing.
I am Trooper SJP. Woo! And I am, streamer, and I'm here funding my channel. The big thing is that I stream a French Resistance campaign with Little Red Dot on Fridays, which is super fun. Less friendship is magic, but that's fine. But in this game, I am playing Tikara, who is a good classic sort of 1970s tomboy, sort of like in the style of like a Christy McNichol or a Jodie Foster, Nancy McKeon, maybe like a young Janet Jackson, and like also part Artful Dodger, so that kind of street urchin, street urchin, juvenile delinquent sort of person, who was able to get out of this place and was Skyborn, born Skyborn like the rest of us, but couldn't fulfill that destiny. And she's about 14.
Yep.
And she was able to become Skyborn actually go off and travel and do the things that Skyborn do, which is go off and try to make the world a better place and see things and experience things because of her best friend Aramis.
Best friend times. There it is. More best friends. Sorry, I have something in my eye. Okay, there we go.
Is it tears?
It was a tear for friendship. A happy tear of friendship. Right there it is. Oh. Everybody look at it. Okay. Eugenio is next up on my screen. Tell us who you are, who you playing.
Hi everybody, I'm Okenyo, sometimes called DM Jazzy Hands, and tonight I'm playing Chalitani, the Hamanu spirit partner to Maddox, also from the Shard of Zenith, a large anthropomorphic mandrill ape, thank you, who is a teacher of the elements, so a very scholarly and methodical and scientific mind. Who we discovered last week has picked up a few things about compassion and feelings from all this time she's spent with Maddox.
Yep. God, last week was. I'll get to my feels in a second. First off, next up, last but certainly not least, Jason. Jason, tell us who you are, who you playing.
Jason T, D&D DM from Twitterverse. I am playing Aramis, Pyroi. Think tall, stony, kind of cracked skin, massive musculature, very short and to the point when it comes to conversation and combat. But along the way in life, he has found a little friend, Takara. Coincidentally, on the shard that we're getting ready to go to.
Yeah.
And the last time that he was here, it was not a pleasant experience, though he did find a new friend out of it. So we'll see what it is like coming back.
Sure, it was fine, right? It was fine. It was
Oh
great.
yeah, it's gonna be great. See some sights.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the sights of Hark. As you leave the beautiful shard of Vale.
Yeah, visit a cafe or two.
Sure. Sit out there.
We'll have Kai's character draw us a caricature of you and I sitting at a cafe.
Yeah. With like.
Yeah. No,
With
it's gonna be
the
horrible.
big heads and like obnoxious like teacups or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm here for that.
If you all shatter this bar tonight, I guarantee you there'll probably be personal pain for Aramis.
Kai
there's
wants
gonna be
to
some
do that
things.
in real life.
Is
Look
that
at
a
all
carrot
those
to
gift
tantalize them, or
subs.
something to warn them away?
Thank you, Jim Song, for all those gift subs.
Yeah,
Gee.
there's pain coming, I think.
You're insane.
Ooh,
Thank you
boy.
all so much. Well,
Insane in the membrane? Insane in the brain.
Insane in the membrane.
Insane in the brain.
what?
We're off the rails, guys.
Yeah, we're off the rails tonight. It's already started. So, last week. So, I think we should first say, for those of you that aren't caught up, just in case you're not, this group of incredible beings, known as the Skyborn, have taken up a very specific task to visit all of the shards of and collect something of great value from each. Now, each of the shards are unique in their own right, which means that each item that they collect is going to look very, very different. Oh my gosh, so many bits coming in, more bits, more love. I'm just like, thank you, everyone. And so the first shard they visited and where they started was at the bottom of the stack of shards, literally. And that's Pyre. And they quickly received the item that they needed from there, thanks to the daft and willful spirit of Aramis, who cut off his own tattoo to save them from having to go through the trials of his people, which are hard and difficult. Last week, they visited the next shard up. And actually, let me give you guys a little... I could do this. I got a picture for you. Look at that picture.
A little something, something.
Little visual image for you. So there they are, all of the shards. And of course, again, they started on Pyre at the bottom and worked their way up to Vale. And Vale is supposed to be the most beautiful of all the shards. Set around a series of 7 lagoons, each of the major cities, named after the lagoon that they reside on. And most importantly, the people from Vale are known for their masks, these incredible masks that carry lineage and history. And their task in Vale was simply written, though difficult to achieve. Draw the face of someone from Vale without their mask on. Most people never take their mask off, and it was, in fact, in death that the 4 of our great Skyborn found what they needed. Through an incredible and heartfelt conversation with the mother of a recently deceased girl, they were able to convince her to let them draw the face of her child before her mask is passed on to the next woman that must wear it. The mother was a bit aghast, as she was in fact in mourning, but realized that this is literally going to be the last time she ever sees her daughter's face. And she offered them the chance as long as she could see the picture. And Maddox, with a daft roll, managed to record her face. And our four Skyborn got to witness the completion of how this shard sends their people back to the Overlight. It seems that the walls of their cities collect energy, which they pump into a giant beam of light, basically, of kind of prism light, that they use for various things. It was revealed, in fact, a weapon that's never been launched, but they have one. And more importantly, into a chamber where they got to watch the body of this beautiful woman, said to be one of the most beautiful in all of Vale, move and disintegrate into the Overlight. After a ceremony where her mask is passed on, they are gifted a chance to celebrate this kind of historical moment, and are escorted after a pretty wonderful evening by your friend Ares, the messenger, back to your spacecraft. Vale is known for these vehicles, these vessels of the sky that move people from shard to shard, and you are given a private one. Currently, the four of you, Ares not included, are kind of on a pilot, on a manual, basically, up to the next shard to Hark. There's a chance for you to kind of relax and chat with one another if anything needs to be said. Or do you travel in silence from Vale to Hark?
Oh, Charlie has stories.
Okay.
Right? I mean, Charlie promised me stories, so I would love to hear the stories in great detail. But I would like to just so we remember, we do have 4 items that we have collected that seem important. We have a list of contacts.
You do.
For each of the shards. We have this really interesting rock with each of the virtues carved into it, which a person is able to, each rune has a single use, and they're activated, I think, in a different way. So that's, and I think that Charlie is studying that. And we also have these rare ghost worm bones, which are apparently very valuable in some sort of way that Aramis would know more about than we do. And then lastly, we got 4 prism drops.
Oh, that's right. These candies. I forgot you. That was
I forgot
an
about those.
ask.
Oh,
Yeah,
I did not, because they were candy.
Okay.
And apparently they affect each person differently. And we haven't taken ours because they're apparently very, very special. They're like the Overlight in candy form. And that's so exciting. And we have them.
So are you emptying your pockets out in this? So let me. This vessel, it looks a little like a submarine. It's like a well-crafted kind of metal vessel, a simple holding cell, and there is kind of a cockpit area. But like I said, everything seems to be kind of on autopilot. Vale makes a lot of these, and not everyone in the shards is trained in piloting. So a lot of this is from point A to point B kind of a deal. Which is what's basically happening here in Hark. And you would know, Takara, that Hark has many docking stations, because Hark is one giant city. It's a huge city that covers the entire top surface of the shard of Hark. So there are all kinds of places where you may end up, or where you may be able to dock. But as you travel, are you emptying your pockets out kind of in this centralized chamber where you're all sitting?
I want to. Is it warm? Like, what is the temperature in this? It's a luxury one, so I imagine
it's nice. It's temperate. You know, there's like little portholes, little circular holes where you can like look out and see. It's gonna take you a couple hours to ascend and to like do the thing, so you've got like a legit flight.
What I would probably do is, if I could imagine Charlatani is sort of sitting on something like a bench or a chair or a sofa, some sort of seating. I don't know what bank. I don't know what kind of seating they have, but I could imagine, because Charlie's like furry and that's exciting. I could imagine Tikara just sort of like sitting on the floor next to Charlie, so that like she could kind of lean up on Charlie's leg and then just say, "So you said you had more stories."
I always have more stories, child. Were we in the middle of one before? Let me think. Let's see.
Tell me about your shard.
What can I tell you of Zenith? Well, it's almost like the opposite of Pyre. And Charlie will start telling a story of her first real blizzard in the mountains of Zenith. And how even she was not ready for the cold of that wind, and how biting the wind was, and how hard it would be to see. And it just so happened that this blizzard sort of kicked up on a celebration day, a feast day, a holiday, whatever it is, when she was trying to get to the celebration. And
did you know Maddox then already?
This was before Maddox and I were brought together by the Overlight. Not long before, mind you, and we almost certainly had crossed paths before, but we had not made each other an important part of our lives yet. And it's a somewhat well, I suppose we can find out how good a story it is, but anyway, it's filled with danger as she traverses the frozen peaks through the blizzard, and eventually, of course, makes it to the festival in time to be a part of the ritual and the ceremony and all of that. But laced throughout it are very very specific sort of moments that are very clearly kind of designed, well, I don't know how clearly to Tikara, but are designed to sort of teach one about different things about Zenith, about sort of the geography and the climate and things like that.
So, but when did you meet Maddox?
That is a complicated answer. When we met, when we got to know each other, and when ultimately it became clear that we would be, I always forget the name of the thing, something about a mirror, diamond mirror, what's it called? Help!
Oh, diamond mirror?
Something about that's the thing that we do with each other when we...
Oh, yeah, the like ceremony. It's like a ceremony. It's kind of like a ritual almost. Oh, I don't remember what it's called. Hang on, I have to look that one up too.
Wait, I've got the PDF up. I was
about to say, I do too, but I did. But...
Diamond Queen and
the right
mirror.
of the diamond mirror.
There we go. The right. Yeah, the right of the diamond mirror.
There you go.
What's that?
Well, we'll get to that, Tikara. We can't get to the end of the story before we've even begun it.
Okay.
Now, that first time, where is Maddox? She always likes to make sure I tell the story true and don't over-exaggerate my abilities in it.
Maddox is like at a table sketching, nothing like crazy, no crazy art, just maybe sketching some things we've seen. And I'm listening, but clearly acting like I'm not.
So I'll just clock that you're there and just sort of nod to myself and be satisfied that if and probably when I go off into the realm of more fiction than fact, you'll bring me back on track. And so,
like, if you do start to, I'll do a little.
I love it. So Charlie, sort of launches off into a story about, a day just like any other, going about sort of mundane daily chores.
Wait, how old were you?
Well, that is a very personal question.
She's like, I'm a kid. I don't know.
She says,
"Were you my age?"
We were quite a bit older than you, but that isn't to suggest that we're old now. To be very clear. No, we were probably just past our 20th cycle.
And then you can see it in her face. She does not say it out loud, which is that's old.
That's old, yeah.
And I'll interject. Some of us didn't have a path from the Overlight as soon as you did.
It took me forever. I had to wait years.
Charlie is so tempted to start talking about the perception of time and how it changes with age, but she'll focus. Yes. Oh, there it is. And so Charlie sort of tells this story about, you know, a day like any other, but we both remember every detail of it with such clarity because it did become this momentous day where we were in a marketplace doing the day's shopping and kept running into each other over and over and over and just sort of kept finding ourselves at the same stall or at the same vendor. And finally, true to form, Charlie approached Maddox and just said, I'm terribly sorry, but do you have any idea how mathematically small the odds are that we have run into each other this many times?
Unless she was following you.
I was not following her, and trust me, she used much bigger words than that.
Okay.
I'm trying to get through it quickly. And what was it that you responded, Maddox?
That the Overlight decided that maybe we were meant to be together.
Oh. I have to admit that even then, Maddox was more sensitive and perceptive to matters of the Overlight than I was. It took me a while to understand and accept that, but that response was enough to pique my curiosity.
That was so before I knew how wordy she was, clearly.
She has a lot of words.
I'm considerably less wordy now than I was then. You're rubbing off on me.
Thank goodness.
And you speak more than 3 or 4 words at a time now, so I'm rubbing off on you as well.
Oh,
yeah, I suppose.
You mean Maddox spoke as much as Aramis?
No.
not quite that little. Where is Aramis?
Aramis?
I'm sort of. I don't like being in this enclosed space. Like, this is. Pyroi in general don't like tight closed spaces, hallways, nothing like that. That's why, like, the original building that you guys went into in Pyroi was so huge with, like, and I see dot plotting. And
how does everybody always know? My other cast does that. I'll be over here like thinking, and they're like, and they'll stop talking, stop RPing, and be like, "Y'all, Dot's plotting something live." They do it just like that. How do you know? I was not saying anything. How did you know?
You get this devious look in your eyes. It's a dead
Is
giveaway.
it? I can't help. Okay, I'm just gonna have to start wearing a mask. No, a mask doesn't work because you can still see my eyes. Okay, well, there's nothing I can do.
Sunglasses.
There's a sign behind you that says plotting, and it just lit up. There's just like you have it on
Just
the wall
like,
behind you.
like literally, they do it just like that, Jason. I'm so sorry to interrupt, but like, literally, my other cast does that. Yeah, just drop evil dots in chat. Do it. It's fine.
Like, it's kind of like for Aramis, that guy that is just a big guy and he can't ever find a really comfortable seat.
Oh yeah.
Like, he's like really like
yeah.
squirming in like these small spaces, and I don't know, like if you ever watched Avengers Endgame, which I'd be surprised if any of you haven't. The rock guy that's in the little cabin where Thor's at, and he's sitting there playing games, and he's just like he's like all squished in, and it just nothing in regards to this space is designed for someone his size.
Yeah, Chad's got you. Korg.
Really uncomfortable.
Korg is his name.
Korg. Yeah. It's totally like Pyroi can't even use their chroma in spaces like this.
Yeah, it's just too much.
Yeah.
It's just too much.
There's so much anxiety. It's he's just sitting there almost kind of like rocking, like, oh, this sucks.
Oh, yeah, I feel that.
And just to make you feel a little bit better while we're listening to the story, Tikara just sort of like scampers, because Tikara is like the kind of person who, you know, you could walk from point A to point B, or if you're already on the ground, you could like crawl, or sometimes just kind of like roll over there, kind of flop over a little bit. You know, she does. And she kind of just like stretches and flops over in a way that's not at all subtle, but she thinks she's being subtle. And then she just kind of like scritches his feet. She just scritches Aramis's feet.
And sort of like you don't even really notice it. It's imperceptible, but there's a slight slowing in his rock as he's just sort of.
Mm-hmm. And as you tell stories and this kind of rocking happens, you have this really beautiful moment together. Aramis is rocking. For those of you that are audibly very aware, there's like this creaking. And it takes a second for you to realize that it's not actually Aramis that is creaking. That something outside the vessel is giving this sound of metal on metal, of rusted chains.
Not a sound we've been hearing during this journey, I take it.
No, not at all. This is definitely, it kind of, and it's getting louder, closer, you might even say. This kind of...
Once the sound becomes visible, audible, Tikara gets a kind of a, sort of like a cloud passes over her features, and she just climbs up into Aramis's shoulder spot.
You climb up and it gives you a better vantage kind of out of this porthole. And as you look outside, you do visually see it. There are chains. As you rise from Vale, almost halfway there, something begins to come into your sight. All along the bottom of Hark hang chains and scaffolding and walk paths. The hanging prison of Hark is said to be the worst prison in all of the shards. Created by a very famous architect, it is... well, it is literally the worst place that you could possibly be. And the entirety of the underside of Hark is covered in this scaffolding, this labyrinth of metal poles that attach to long kind of pieces of wood and metal that make these rickety places. And right now it's very tiny and far away. But there are so many hanging cells from the bottom of Hark that together in the wind that wishes past it, the same one that tried to push you off the side of Vale as it comes along the underside, that it creates this symphony, this cacophony of chain and metal on metal. And if you were outside the vessel, you might even hear it accompanied by the groans, the moans, and the screams of those that are destined to die there.
The minute we start getting close enough to see, even not that close, I push my face against the porthole and I search the cages for someone.
It's very, very, very far away.
Course,
so it's definitely not close.
Anyway.
But you want to kind of you want to just see what there is to see, I guess.
No, I'm looking for someone, and I know I cannot see them, but I'm looking for someone.
Are you looking for anyone in particular? Like
Yes.
like you would know their face?
Yes. Well, no,
Okay.
not really. But I imagine I know what their face looks like.
Okay. Are you looking for the same person that the sheet tells you to look for?
No.
Okay.
That person would be easier to look for because they've got an eye patch, but I'm not looking for that person.
My goodness, there's all these gift subscriptions, and I have to say, the cheeky look on my face earlier was me plotting, because I realized
Yes.
that I misread the bits that were donated when the stream started.
Uh-oh.
Somebody filled the bar twice for all of you.
Oh.
Oh.
So that was the cheeky
Oh.
look on my face, was me realizing I have 2 shatter bars before the one that's about to be full to give you today.
Oh my
Holy
goodness.
smokes,
Oh my
thank
God.
you.
My
Yeah,
goodness.
but Tikra's like glued to the porthole,
Yeah, you're like-
searching for something.
I imagine that the hot breath kind of,
Yeah.
and your eyes, they dart back and forth, and you begin to kind of look. Now,
This is like an entire shard's worth of.
it is a literal
Like, you can't-
continent-sized prison that goes as far as the eye can see. And I would say that you're at least a mile off from like being on top of one of them, because obviously they're not going to fly you up the bottom of the shard, kind of coming around the edge. So yeah, as
So
you
like realistically, probably not ever, right? But
right,
she looks anyway.
you look. Would you like to make a roll to be able to see more?
Yes.
Okay.
I
I'm
would.
gonna say then,
Perception?
yeah, perception. Just a flat perception's fine, because that would be yes. This will be interesting.
1 success. But that's a 3. I only have 3 spirit, but it's really important to her. So I'm going to use that chance to use a spirit flare
Okay.
and take my spirit from 3 down to 2 so I could get 2 successes.
Okay, 2 successes. You look, and you look really, really hard, and at this point you're kind of, basically you've risen to the bottom of it where you're parallel with this giant hanging prison, and near the edge where you're kind of coming up and you're rising, you see a figure. 2 figures. Well, you see a lot of figures, a lot of them in prisons, but one figure that is not. It actually stands on this scaffolding. It's got something rather large on its feet, and you can't really figure that out. They might have a weapon. They might have a weapon. They've got some kind of stick or long weapon in their hands, and they're speaking to someone.
And I'm like, I've just got like my face, like, and it's one of these things. The minute I started hearing the chains, and I imagined that Charlie was telling this story, I just immediately went to the porthole, and all of my attention was just searching these cages
Okay.
to try and.
Yeah, and you're looking. You don't see who you're looking for. But you watch as whoever this figure is opens one of these metal wrought iron hanging cages. There's no forcefulness. There's no prodding with their weapon. They swing this gate open. And the person on the inside, looking to be Harkin, looks down, looks at this person, and jumps.
Jumps out of the cage.
Yes,
I didn't recognize the person.
you did not.
Okay.
The first shatter bar is used. Takara, you witness something that maybe you've never seen before. You don't even know if you've laid eyes on this prison, even though this is your home. It is one of the things it's best known for. And some people would rather choose the Overlight than a life in chains. The guard clearly gave somebody an option.
What their uniform is, what they look like. Could we impersonate them? Like, just all of a sudden now it's just like like and it's kind of like a fixation on like detail, because that was very disturbing. And so instead of thinking about that, instead it's like, oh, do they have hats on? Do they like? It's just like this whole.
Yeah, you're trying to take things up. The only thing that you can really, the person themselves looks emaciated, very little clothing, sickly, just like you might imagine a prisoner of this kind. The guard, on the other hand, has a very specific uniform on. You can definitely tell by whatever they carry that there's something significant to that, and to whatever they've got on their feet. They walk, if you look back, they trudge along with this strange gantly walk as if their feet are heavy.
Like their feet stick to things, like magnet
Correct.
boots or something.
Correct. And as you turn around, exactly, and as you turn around and you're kind of talking to them, and you're trying to wipe this thing that your little tiny child mind just witnessed.
Just nope.
And maybe you even point.
Yep.
And what to show everybody as the vessel passes up and over the shard. And we begin to see the kind of centralized core of this place, and it passes up, and we begin to see Hark, the massive city that covers the entire face of this place. If you remember, your job here on Hark is in fact to visit the hanging prison.
I didn't see him.
See who?
What's happened, Tikra?
They have guards in a uniform and big boots and some kind of staff weapon.
But you said you didn't see him.
Oh, the guy we're supposed to see.
Charlie checks her notes and to remind us all about who it was, and she sort of says, "Well, I think we'll have to do a bit more of a closer look to be able to find someone so specific in such a large space. Tikra, don't be disappointed in yourself. Don't be upset. We'll find him. Don't worry."
With the eye patch.
It is. If you review kind of the notes, it's pretty unclear. Like in terms of specifics, you were looking for. It says a one-eyed man. Now,
But he had an eye patch because he was maybe hiding the thing in the eye patch.
and you're to retrieve whatever is in their eye cavity.
Right. Blech.
In terms of what that is, who this person is, you do not know. It does say man, but I think that was the term that I used. It would probably say person, one-eyed person, because you don't. Not everything in the shards is male or female.
Sure.
So I don't think it would say man. It would say person.
So I think that Aramis would know, and probably Maddox, because Maddox is very compassion. Yeah, is your core virtue. Tikra was lying when she said she was looking for the man. Like that was clearly not who she was looking for. Like she said that the man, but the way she said it was off. You know what I mean? So that it did not seem as if that's who she was looking for.
Okay.
She's not a bad liar, but she's not like if she wants to lie, she can lie very well if she feels like it. But that's not this is a half-hearted lie, if that makes any sense. Like it's good enough if people don't know her well, but if people are attuned, then that didn't seem right.
Tikra, did you leave anybody when you left?
Ooh.
What do you mean?
Was there anybody left on this shard behind?
It's a whole shard of people.
Anybody important to you?
I don't need people.
Of course you don't. But maybe they need you.
I don't know.
When you're ready and you want to tell us, you know we'll be here for you. And you don't need us, but you might want our help when you're ready.
Maybe.
Do you want to talk about it?
No.
Okay.
And she just gets like smaller and smaller on Aramis's shoulder, but also trying to seem like she doesn't care and that she's got bravado. And it's this kind of weird mix of like shrinking, but also trying to puff oneself up. It's like kind of a strange mix of puffing oneself up and deflating at the same time.
And you hear a pre-recorded voice over the kind of cockpit intercom that says, "We are arriving in Hark. Please, take your seats. Final destination in 2 minutes."
Look, you have to be careful here on Hark. It's not safe like other places. Be
Well,
ready.
good thing we have you.
People will steal from you, and also their gangs, and they will beat you up and take all the things you have. So you have to be careful. You have to. It's not like, I don't know what other shards are like, but I imagine other shards are like full of wonder and everything, and like spaces and like forests and places you can be alone and think about things. But this is not like that. People will look at you everywhere you go, and they'll follow you, and they'll hide, and then they'll jump out and they'll get you. So like watch out all the time, because it's like always people are there lurking, always ready to get you. So you can't just relax and walk around. So don't always think, always look for people around you all the time. And if anybody's looking at you, they're probably going to do something bad. So and then put all the valuable things that you have, don't put them in outside bags. People will take those. So like put them somewhere safe, or you'll lose things.
And in a couple minutes, with a word vomit, we learn a lot about Tikura, about the place that they are from, the massive city of Hark, about the things they may have gone through, and the way that the people here treat other people. Vale may hide its harshness behind mask, but Hark doesn't hide anything about itself. It is a mass city of commerce. Land is one of the most valuable things here, because there is none that is unclaimed, unbuilt, and unused. You have to have a lot of money to purchase it. Maybe one of the reasons why they felt the prison needed to be on the bottom, as to not waste space on such souls. The vessel, very, very simply, you hear it kind of as some kind of hydraulic system. You hear the piece that played back to you hit like a click, and it like winds the message back again. Definitely not high tech in terms of sci-fi, but they make their way through. Thank you for that, host. And the door, after you dock, opens up to the sound of people. Lots of them. Voices, machinery, commerce. It kind of almost hits you in this massive wave, especially coming off somewhere like Vale, where everyone is very reserved and proper, and everything has a place. Here, sound fills everything, just as people do. And you've docked on a mass platform. There are other kind of small transport vessels similar to yours, about 4 or 5 of them on this place. The gangway is kind of down on it. And there is a figure there, Harkin, who stands and looks at all of you, greets you and says, "Welcome to Hark. We need you to leave the vessel. It is due for another takeoff."
Aramis is immediately pushing his way out of the ship.
And Tikura, who normally rides upon Aramis, like clambers off of Aramis,
Yeah.
and is just in awareness zone at all moments. It's like always want to be able to like move or dodge or scamper. Like on Aramis, I don't have the mobility I need to in case I need to jump away or scramble under something or dodge or like clearly like if you know city awareness, like people who have really good city vision, like they're like you don't just walk down the city with your like
No.
around.
Yeah, if you live in New York City, you're aware of everything going on around you at all points. And that's kind of what we watch as like Tikura kicks into high gear. This innate survival mode kind of comes into play as you step off, and some people bustle past you. The gentleman who welcomed you off quickly ignores you and welcomes in what may be a family, you're not entirely sure, onto the vessel that you just left. And you walk into what is basically the city center of Hark. The city center includes a place known as the Great Market, which is exactly like what it sounds like. If you can buy it, pay for it, haggle for it, you can find it here. And maybe even for the first time, Aramis, in this trip, since, I mean, I get definitely not on Vale, but since leaving your home shard, nobody notices you. They don't look at you. Nobody gives you an odd blink. As if you're out of place, because here in Hark, as you begin to look around, you realize that it's not just the Harkin that fill the streets. There are creatures and people and folk, as they're called in the shards, from all over. This is a rather diverse city, and one of the things that makes it the most unique in all of the shards. Where do
I
you go?
grab Charlie's hand, being somebody who's a little bit aloof and not typically like the sounds and the people and all that a little bit overwhelming for me, and I just want comfort as we kind of walk through this.
Charlie gets the hint and sort of squeezes back and just puts herself a little bit in front of Maddox. Just by dint of her size, it's easy to be sort of a shield and a barrier as we disembark the ship and make our way to this bazaar.
As you begin to walk through it, I would say it opens up. It's simply there's no buildings there. It's kind of like a circular area that juts out in multiple directions. But there are so many people. Some people carry carts. Other people drag children. This is a shopping district. People bump into one another. You hear raised voices. You might even be stopped at one point by a man who simply says, I've got the best cloud brew. Huh? Come on. You know you want some. And you would know cloud brew is brewed here. It's kind of a sweet and syrupy beverage. It's served in kind of like an open bowl.
And I can say, we're locals. Get out of here.
He goes, well, fine. I'll serve it with a slice of sour pucker nut if you want, kid.
And I just like flip him off in whatever is the hark equivalent of
the appropriate way. You hear him kind of like spit behind you, the stupid kid, and picks up on the next person trying to haggle his wares. And you continue to walk for a while. Tikara, I would think you know this place, and you know where you're headed.
And I go, Charlie, what's the name for here?
So I'll have a look at our list of contacts and see who it is that we're looking for here.
Here, you have no contact.
Oh.
You have an address.
Oh, well, that'll work too. Tikra, I sure hope that you are as good with street names as you are with that look that you give when you want something. It seems we're looking for an address. I don't know who lives there.
What's the address?
You're given the address, and you can navigate the city. You know the city like the back of your hand. You look at the address. It is located in the centralized kind of area of Hark. You're not going to like one of the exterior mountainous city regions. So you're in the closest place that you can be. You've got a little bit of a walk through the city to get there, but you don't know what's at this location, but you can find it on a map, or you can ask around enough to know yourself where to get and how to get there.
Sure.
I would take them a weird way to get there. Like
Great.
we wouldn't just walk there because that would be too obvious in case people were following us, and
Okay.
you can't have that. So like it would be this really strange route. Like we'd be walking in a main street, and then I would sort of back up enough so that we're all very close because I'm in front of everyone.
Yes.
And then I would kind of like pull, because I imagine Chalatani is on the far right of the group, like pull and then like have us duck into an alley and then move through some alleys and then sort of like twist around them until we're on some other different street. And it's probably going to take us longer than it probably should have.
Yep.
But clearly there's a thing that she has about, and also there are neighborhoods that she completely avoids, maybe ones that are controlled by gangs she does not want her new friends to have to sort of see it all or come into contact with. So it's a very kind of strange way to maneuver and navigate, like you would be if you were on Pyre or some other place. You'd be moving through swamps trying to figure out like, oh, these
Yeah.
are the dangerous places. But
Yeah, you want to move. Oh, in this case, you're moving back alleyways.
Yeah.
You're taking, right, in New York City. You're taking the streets that only New Yorkers take.
Yeah.
Are the
Yeah.
people here all human, or is Aramis and Charlie like? Do people seem alarmed by them?
Nope. Not a. They don't even look at Aramis. It is a very diverse city. You see creatures and folk of all kind.
And then for the prison, and I meant to ask this earlier, do other shards send prisoners to the prison? Okay.
This is the Hark. You would know that the hanging prison is the place that we dump the things we don't want. It is the prison of choice, I guess you could say, in that regard. Meaning that is where the worst of the prisoners go, and it's a place where people that need to be forgotten go. Nobody wants to be sent there. And actually, I can show you guys a couple things. I'm going to move you over to my Hark map so that you can see it. So there's part of the city there on the right-hand side, the one that comes out of the book, and I'm going to show everybody in chat as well. I'm gonna get myself moved over. So you kind of dart in and out of these alleyways, moving. You watch, your feet carry you. You know this place. And all of you watch as it's like second nature. You might even look at a map or try to stop to ask somebody, but it doesn't matter. Takara knows where they're going.
And there's like one little moment before they get to one space, which I don't know how it will make Maddox and Charlie feel, but like there's a moment where like we stop in an alley and she just reaches down to her boot and just checks to make sure that everything is there.
You stop to check, and in this momentary pause, something happens. This is what some of you, this will be thanks to those incredible shards, or bars that have been filled, the shatter bars. The first thing that you see, just as you bend down.
Thank you, but not thank you.
So thank you, but not thank you.
Here comes.
It's actually Aramis. Takara stops to tie a shoe, to do the thing that Takara does best, to check behind you for whatever it is, and there's this sense of nostalgia, of deja vu, if you would, that takes over you. You've been here before. You know this alleyway. And something happens. A flash in time. You, Aramis, remember your feet carrying you. You're injured and bleeding. Things did not go as planned. And as you bustle through the streets of this place, having been here once before, people are following you. You see them pushing others, the sound of panic and attack. And the camera cuts to this alleyway, where we see two very small eyes peering out, looking at you. You're not aware. But Takara, you watch as this incredibly large and warm being collapses. They're clearly being chased.
Well, they're so big though. Can I pull them into the? Can I move them at all?
You can sure try. Is that what you'd like to do?
I'm gonna try to pull their foot or their hand.
Okay.
Like, because I imagine this is my home.
Yes.
This is one of the places where I live, and I imagine I've got like trash and like maybe like blankets, like little tarps, sort of made like a kind of like a lean-to.
Yeah, you've got a
or-
place, your place.
Yeah, it's just like a lean-to in the alley.
It's just a lean-to, but you can see the guards kind of pushing through. Where'd he go? Where'd he go? He's collapsed on the ground. They can't quite see him through the crowd of people. And you have just a moment to make a decision, and you do. You run out there, your tiny hands grasping their rather large arm. I don't know if you've ever seen a pyroid before. Their arms and skin feel like rock, and you begin trying to tug and pull. I'm going to get an athletics from you, unless you feel like there's something like brawl would be better, but I think athletics is the right one here.
And I will also say, Mister, you gotta move. They're gonna get you if you don't. You gotta move. Wake up. 3 successes.
3 successes.
Wow.
Damn. Mister,
And like
wake up.
it's like all I need to do is get him closer to the wall, and then I can move my lean-to over him.
Yep. You did also get the -1 to your spirit die. Note that. Yeah.
Does that take one off my spirit pool?
No, because you're not in combat. So I don't think it does anything, right? Let me double check that. Hang on. I have notes for this. To make sure I do this right.
You are correct.
I am.
Okay.
Okay, yes, correct. Great. Awesome. So the you grab this arm and you begin dragging. They are so heavy. They feel like a pile of rocks, but you're an agile child. You've done worse. People kind of step over you. They actually create great cover. As you drag this person to your pile, and I'm guessing you cover them, like you hide them?
Yeah, because I can't move them anymore, but I can move my home on top of them.
Correct. What a perfect home. a literal physical protection as you start covering them up, and just in time, maybe you play it off, you hide, you do the thing, you tuck behind as you watch the soldiers like bustle up to where they were. My computer's having problems. There we go. To where they were.
And just before the soldiers can get there, I do something to camouflage the blood. Like I throw trash so that they can't see the blood's coming where we are.
Nice. Yeah. There's a lot of people, so they still have to part them. And as they look, they're like, "Where did he go? I don't know. He went that way. Go this way." And their captain kind of commands them to split up, looking for them. And off they go. They depart. And you're met once again by the normal sound of the streets of Hark, and the heavy, laden breathing of the person that you just saved. Aramis, you can feel yourself fading, and the small sound of a child, again, Mister, kind of echoes in your mind's eye. You can see they've pulled you to safety. They smell of trash and the street.
Yeah,
Just try to put things on their wounds.
Oh,
yeah, I'm kind of sort of like supporting myself with one arm. The other one is sort of kind of quasi broken, and I'm coughing.
No, don't make noise. They'll get you, and then they'll take you to the hanging prison. You don't want to go there.
Child, you are in danger.
No, you're in danger. They catch you, that's it. Nobody comes back from there.
I can handle myself.
You-
They got my friends, but they won't get me.
Oh, shh. You're safe here. Nobody's gonna look here. You're bleeding. What is that? And it looks like, I imagine pyrite blood looks strange.
Yeah, very very kind of magmatic.
Yeah.
It's very slightly thicker than normal because of the density of their bodies, and it's orange in color. But
I don't know how to fix wounds, but I can put things on it. And I get like broadsheets, like the equivalent of like parchment sort of paper that I imagine for like the news and that sort of thing. And I just sort of put them on him.
Would you like to actually try to make a check for it? To try to stop the bleeding or help them in some way? I mean, you're a child of the streets, so you would have bare minimal, like, medicine.
I have survival.
There we go.
Medicine I don't have. But
Survival?
I have survival.
Let's do survival. That seems like the right role for this.
Because I will survive.
Yes, you will.
As long as I know how to love, I know I'll be alive. One success.
Okay.
And I care about this stranger who seems, I don't know, there's something about them. So I will spend one of my 2 spirit pool left to make that a success. To bring that to a 2.
I'm not sure why my internet has just dropped like nothing. Okay, so you get a 2. You're right. You need to stop the bleeding. You don't have medicine, at least not in the truest sense of the word.
But I might have alcohol.
But you might have some alcohol. I think alcohol and whatever this this paper is. Yeah, I don't mind. I'm sorry, gang. If you're having internet problems, you can hear us. Bear with us. My computer is juddering, and I'm trying to figure out what that's about. It just like dropped out to nothing. So.
Like I imagine, back in, if you think about London in the 1600s, right? They had all those broadsheets, so they had newspapers. They just weren't like our mass production newspapers. They actually sort of were mass produced because they had sort of printing presses, sort of plates, and I imagine they're like you have lots of things like that, right? These kinds of old 1600 style kind of like
papers and medicines, and so you've had to patch your own wounds before. You've been beat up. You dump the alcohol all over. Aramis, there's a searing pain that juts through as...
and it's like cheap rot gut alcohol.
That It's clean, it's sterile, and you don't necessarily have. Actually, I'd say on a 2, you know that the broken arm needs to be put into a sling, or needs to be like cast in some way. So you're able to use like sticks and broken broom handles and those kind of things, along with the paper to create kind of a splint for the arm.
And I'm sure I have rags, right? I mean, I think I've got.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, I've got a bunch of things in my homeless person's lean-to, rags and bottles and sticks and anything that you can kind of get that might be interesting. And I try my best to sort of set this with sticks and tie sticks around it and then tie it against his body so he doesn't move it.
You use the paper almost like paper mache across the rock to like seal this wound. It won't hold forever, but it will hold for now, at least keeping you from bleeding out. And Aramis, within a couple minutes, you do feel a little less faint. You still are broken. You're still bruised. And they're still looking for you. But a child has pulled you to safety into an alleyway of a great city where you don't belong. And as you come to, Aramis, out of this moment of nostalgia, the first moment that you got to meet Takara, you realize that you're in that alleyway. And as Takara bends down to check the area using tying their shoe as a cover, you see it, where Takara's home used to be, there in the corner. Stains of dark blood, your blood, still there along the brick. A firm reminder that this is definitely the place where you two first met.
Watch out for gangs here. The gangs are bad. There are a lot of them.
I lean down to Tikara. Actually, you know what? No, this is kind of important. So, something that you won't see Aramis do often is take a knee. And it's more of a pride thing for the Pyroi. He takes a knee in front of Tikara to get down to her level rather than her come up to him, and says, "Do you remember this place?"
And since you have your knee up, she immediately looks to make sure you're not hurt. Like, it's just to make sure that you're breathing okay, that you're not going to die or go away or anything. And she just kind of pats your shoulder as a way to make sure you're okay. And that you're okay. You're okay, right?
I am fine, but we should move quickly. There are those in this area that might recognize me.
Wait. And she's gonna go to the place where her lean-to was, which I imagine now is all sort of crushed.
Yeah,
and
it's just garbage now. I muted myself. I said it's just garbage now.
Yeah, it's just garbage now. And she's gonna go through the garbage, and she's gonna try to find one of her rags. And they're just rags. They're not special rags. They're just rags.
Yeah.
But like sometimes you can patch them up and you can sell them. You can trade them for things. Sometimes that's useful. You could always use a good rag. Rags are always very useful. And she finds one, I hope.
Oh, easily.
Well, so to be fair, in Aramis's adventures, he always carried around a sort of Pyroi like a little stone box, and it was actually a stone carved music box that belonged to his older sister before she died, and it's been missing since his last adventure to Hark.
Did I
Could
steal
have-
it?
No, it more than likely would have
I'm just
wherever
asking.
yeah, wherever Aramis would have passed out at.
You know what?
it-
You
it
have
probably-
a lot of shatter bars on your side tonight, and running against you. Thanks to Jim Song, who gave 2 at the top. One of these shards, or one of these bars, has already triggered this memory. And as you begin to dig through the trash to find a rag, your foot kicks something hard, and it kind of slides it out from underneath this pile of trash. It is dirty and worn. It's been I would say, many cycles since both of you have been back to this point. But
Like two cycles.
and
probably?
some of this trash may not have been moved since that long. This debris, this garbage, what's left of your home, and you see
I think
it.
I stole it. I think I stole
You think
it.
you stole it?
Yeah.
Okay,
Because I didn't know
perfect.
who this person was.
Oh, great, I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I would have been unconscious when it happened.
Yeah.
So.
Like this person was unconscious. I didn't know who this person was. There was a
Hey.
cool thing.
Great. If you
And so I
if
hid
you
it.
stole it, then maybe it's the remembrance of digging through this pile, just like you dug through the pockets of Aramis.
I did. Because look, I want this person to be safe, but also they might have some things.
They might have some things. And at the time, you didn't know Aramis, and
I
you
didn't know
saved them. It's the least you could do to get something in repayment. But
Right. And then of course I hid it,
Hid
and I
it.
never got to come back for it.
and so you've hid it here.
Yeah. It was my
I
home.
love it.
Like I imagine that not all the buildings are in the best of repair, and so I imagine that there are some parts of the wall that are
And now we know why Takara came all this way, led you down all the wrong alleyways, took the long way around. It's not just for safety. Takara needs to return something. And you watch as the trash is moved, the rag is grabbed, and that brick is still there, that little spot, that hidden nook.
and is Aramis still on their knee?
Yeah.
Wait. And and she comes out with a rag, and she's stay here. And then she takes the rag and she puts it around his head like a kind of a hat. She kind of makes kind of like a hat out of it. And she's like, if you wear this, people won't recognize you. But don't get up. Wait. I found something. Wait. And then she goes back and she moves the rock out of the wall, and then she reaches in, and she pulls out a couple of things. She pulls out some paper, like a folded paper, some folded papers that she just takes and she puts in her boot. And then she takes out this stone box. And then Aramis, I think this is yours. She
He sees you sort of coming out from under this pile of refuse, and immediately he sees what's in your hands, and you just see his shoulders kind of slump down, and his head drops.
I'm sorry.
And you hold it in your hand. Or do you take it?
I hold it out to him and I look so guilty.
Takara, you never really figured out what this was. You took it. Maybe one of the reasons you hid it is because you couldn't get it to work. A broken music box. But, Aramis, you know that one of the reasons this music box is special is, most importantly, because it belonged to your sister. But 2, because it can only be activated by a Pyroi.
So without raising my head, you hear, you say one word, a name. Ariana.
I'm sorry. I didn't. It dropped. You can have it back. I'm sorry. I didn't. It fell. I took it.
And Tigra over time would have learned little bits and pieces of the story about Ariala and how she died saving me, and it would have been, he might not have known that was hers, but it was very, he sort of reaches out with his hand, and I just picture Tikara just placing it into this massive palm. And
But then she's going to take his fingers, right? Like when she places the box in their hand, she's going to take their fingers, like 2 of them, like in each of her hands, and she's going to say, "You're not going to leave me though, right? You won't go. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to take it, but you won't go, right? You won't go." I mean,
and he sort of looks as she's saying this. He's looking at the music box, and he lifts the lid up, and you hear just this what could be pretty music. In Pyroi, there's not a lot of very sort of like classical type of music. You're not hearing a piano concerto by any means, but it's
So to
it's
activate
nice.
this thing, because you're a Pyroi, you open up. Most music boxes have a crank. There's no crank on this. Again, why you couldn't get it to work, but and you kind of slide a piece, this kind of brass plated, almost like a straw, forward, and you watch as Aramis picks it up and blows hot air into it, the breath of a Pyroi, hot enough to heat the coil on the inside. The piece of lava rock internally begins to heat up, and it sets the mechanism in motion. And at first, it's just a clicking, ding, 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 as the song begins to pick up. Beautiful, not in everyone's mind, but
You see Takara, he hasn't replied to you yet, but you do see this like one little sort of magmatic tear come down this rocky surface that is his face, and he looks, finally he breaks his gaze at the box, and he looks at you and says, "Oh, dear little Takara, I may have lost this before, but I gained a much greater gift.
what?
Someone who reminds me of my sister.
So you won't get rid of me?
No." And you see him sort of reach up the stony hand and sort of stroke the top of her head as he closes the box lid and hands it back to her.
gifted back to you.
This will always be with you, as will I.
She just like hugs his
Oh.
his leg.
And this embrace.
He pulls her in close.
There's a moment, and the two of you watch Charlie, Maddox, as something personal. You can feel it. For an empath like Maddox, it's in the air. This is a place of history for them, not just any old alleyway. And as the music box makes it back into the hands of the one who brought it here, then hands it off back to the one who took it, this strange song of pyre plays from this music box, and every time it dies, I'm sure when Takara asks, Aramis blows hot air into it again and starts it back up, and it leads the way all the way to the address. Takara, you should have known. This address leads to a series of elevators. These elevators are used for everything for maintenance here in town, but the one that is labeled, the address, is the elevator that takes you down. You need a special code for this, and it's been given to you. But Takara, you also know you only go to the prison for 2 reasons: as a prisoner or as a guard. Not very many people are welcome. And it's whispered, especially for those well-learned folk, that those that give their life to being a guard of the hanging prison, spend their life doing it. They don't come to the surface very often, and their job oftentimes leaves them just as crazy as the prisoners. You type the code in, and you step into this elevator, literally this lift. As the doors close, the sound of the city dissipates. Silence, except for this eerie music box that tinks away. And for about 20 minutes, you travel through a lift. It cranks you down, all the way down. And when it finally opens up, you see it. A small, very narrow, wide enough for just a single person, really, or a single folk, plank that leads out to a small landing that is attached to a series of scaffolding that hangs from the bottom of Hark. Bolted in with these massive poles, this scaffolding turns into a labyrinth as far as the eye can see. People, some of them dead, emaciated, folk of all kind, hang from these small cages. Each of them a little different. Not everyone is sentenced to the same thing here in the prison. Most of them are what you would picture like medieval dome-shaped, like hanging cells that drape. But then there are some that are much, much worse. Some prisoners, the worst of them, are hung simply by their feet, to dangle upside down for eternity until they lose their minds staring to the vast overlight. Others are pinned with these strange metal mechanisms that hold their arms upright, almost like a booster seat, but the bottom of their bodies hang loosely, so that their feet never touch ground again. Some of them wail and cry, but you cannot hear them over the sounds of the chains that greeted you as you rose to Hark. They eke and quake, and the wind. It blows, everything shifts and waves and creaks. And you are greeted with your first sight of the great labyrinth known as the Hanging Prison. We are going to go to break, and when we return, you can search for the folk with the one eye so that you can figure out what they are hiding. And thank you again to Jim Song for filling the fourth bar of the night.
Oh my goodness.
Ooh.
So,
How is it break time already?
it's break time already.
know.
It's break time
You
already.
said
It's
that, and I was
8:30.
like, "Oh, are we going early?"
No, it is 8:30. It is definitely 8:30, and we are a couple minutes early, but this is the perfect point because everything from here forward is going to be, we're going to amp
Puppies?
up a notch. So for those of
Puppies
you,
and flowers?
yeah, definitely puppies and flowers. There's nothing here for you to be scared of.
Puppies are rabid and the flowers are poison.
Correct.
Actually, maybe.
Yeah.
I am so wrapped up in this. I can't even handle it.
Yeah. So thank you again. Two shatter bars have already been used. One of them to witness one of the prisoners jumping to what they would probably consider a better life.
Hope it wasn't the eye patch one.
Let
That'd
us
be
hope.
terrible.
Let us hope.
We go
Or
back
you
to
guys
Vale.
are screwed.
I was looking.
And
Sadly.
the second bar to trigger an important location, a memory, a shattering in time when two people met, and here they are, still together. Their journey has come full circle, leading them back to where they started. And we'll see what the other two bring when we get back on break. So everybody hang around. We're going to do a quickie little break time because guess what, y'all? We human. And everybody needs to get some water, wash your hands, get a little nibble, come back. Don't go anywhere. Grab a friend while you're at it. Drag them in. We'll be back here in just a couple minutes. Don't go anywhere. And we'll see you all. You know what? While we're on this one, I'll play the little intro monologue-y thing.
Oh, there you go.
Also,
why
Dot
not?
3 for 3. 3 for 3.
3 for 3. Oh, that's right. Yeah, we got tears, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
We got some tears out of that one.
3 for 3.
And a couple more bits. Thank you, Volpez. And it just says puppies. So you've all been gifted cute puppies to help with this time. All right, and we're going to transition. We'll be back shortly. See you in just a few minutes, everyone. Don't go anywhere.
Before suns and moons and light, there was a great emptiness that did not know itself. It had no eyes to see itself, no hands to feel its face, and no tongue to taste its breath. So from the center of this beginningless awareness, an invisible flame burned into being, and from it, its warm heart, came the light. And so it was that the first light came to be. The light announced itself at the center of a boundless ocean of emptiness, and its long rays reached into that void and found no end to it. And so it was that the light's desire was to give warmth, and with its rays it caused the darkness to huddle around it, and so was made the first other, and with it the first shadow. The shadow was of the light as much as anything, and bearing a great love for it, the light searched the dark for secret caused and brought wondrous form into being. It warmed these countless things and brought them into being, and the light forever washed over them. Soon the great emptiness was hardly empty at all. The great sea was now filled with forms and light, and the emptiness sat beneath it all and knew the joy of creation and of being its source. Motivated to give illumination and to warmth to all things, the light divided into many stars that were no smaller or larger than the light when it was one. The stars each had their own rays and gave warmth to many distant spheres, the faces and forms of which remain unknown to the folk to this very day. And, as the Madrid worlds began to glow with the light, the stars felt love for what they lit, and to care for all within the light gave up their most precious radiance. Those rays became flowing serpents, and those serpents the custodians of the world. The 8 longest and most radiant serpents forged from the light's very heart, the 8 keys that can unlock those secrets of creation that had been hidden since time without beginning. And each serpent but one bestowed their gifts in turn, and there was no world that was more serpent-blessed than our own world that was. Touched by each key in turn, it flourished in the display of the countless things, and, most curious among these things, humanity. The luminous guardians cared for all that the stars shone upon, and humanity manifested wisdom and civilization upon its world, and amidst towers and temples turned its gaze to the heaven. And so it was. And humanity proved wise, and humanity proved cunning, and humanity proved kind, and humanity proved strong of will, and humanity proved persevering, and humanity proved powerful. And in this way, humanity earned their initiations through ordeal and the revelation of mysteries. It was by these virtues that the light serpents considered the fate of humanity. Was it time to reveal unto its sovereign race the keys and secrets by which they were made? 7 felt no. But one stood against the 7 and said that humanity had earned its place, earned its turn to take up the keys so it may choose its place among the stars. But it was even this dissonant serpent that warned of the 8th key, the black key, a forbidden key. In turn, humanity made quick use of the keys, adorning its world in splendor and wonders exceeding all dream and aspiration. Despite such glorious power, the mysteries of the Black Key proved too great to go unraveled. And so it was that the world that was unmade. The sky was black and the sun was at its center. Space undid itself around the edges of the great white disk and fell. As it fell, the world broke, and men were tossed from their temples and clung to the pieces of the shattered world that was. The black of space unfurled beneath us as a boundless sea that still pulses with the dying stars frozen within its murk. And then it stopped. It all stopped. The falling shards of the world froze in their places, and the 7 were made new. It was then that humanity looked down from the edges of its broken world and knew what it had done and trembled. But even as it feared, the dark sea below a warm light shone on its back, and humanity once more turned its gaze to heaven. Above, more radiant and giving than ever. The absolute light. The light eternal and first. The Overlight, we call it. And it is by its colored rays that you will know your power, O Skyborn child.
we're back. Thank you all to everyone who's hung in there. Maybe you had a chance to listen to the little intro, which is straight from the book, for the record. I did not write that. That is out of Renegade Game. That's their, like, lore story at the very top of the RPG. It's beautiful and wonderful, and I think really sets a tone for how this world came to be. So, yeah, hope you enjoyed that. We all had to go get something to drink and take a moment because we've already had our emotions. We've already had this incredible kind of start to today's game, which is interesting because they didn't make it until their destination until now. Hark has proved to be an interesting place, a mass city stacked on top of itself, built into the multiple mountains and landscape of Hark, a single shard, third up from the bottom, and it is a harsh place. It is nothing that it does not claim to be. Shoulder to shoulder with people, haggling, bargaining, gangs, poverty of mass amounts. But their journey does not take them to the city of Hark, no. They are not to be on top. Instead, they have journeyed to a place beneath the shard of Hearth. It hangs, literally, from the bottom of it. A prison, known as the Hanging Prison. An incredible piece of architecture, in fact, built by a man known for building a mass piece of architecture on every shard. But this is his legacy, this Hanging Prison. Ever growing, it is a final place for folk from all over. It does not just serve Harkins. And only the worst of the worst are said to be put here. Or, maybe as they'll find out, just those that need to be forgotten. Thanks to Takara's perception, we do know that there are guards here. Though as the elevator that has brought you through the core opens up, you don't see any. There are no guards, nobody greets you, there's no check-in point. Instead, it's just scaffolding, bolted into the base of Hark itself, that creaks and eeks in the wind. That is fierce. You can see it, the wind pushing and pulling, rocking every cage that dangles here.
Before we step out, Tikara looks and says, but wait, as if they were going, like,
yeah.
we hadn't actually, we hadn't actually been gone anywhere, but wait, could we, if we're here, could we do a thing? If you have time, if
A thing?
And she reaches into her boot and she pulls out one of the papers and she unfolds it, and it's a parchment and it's old, and it's a wanted poster for a man that I suppose looks sort of like Tikra, but like an older man. It's a wanted poster for a criminal. This, my mom said this was my dad, and I never met him, but he's supposed to be here, and if we found him, we could maybe get him out too. And this is a really old poster. Like, this is probably a poster that's like 20 cycles old.
What did he do, Tikra?
And it just says like wanted with some sort of, large amount of money. I don't know. I don't care.
Don't take this anyway, but with the best intention, but are you sure you want him out if you don't know?
Well, he's my dad.
A silence falls in the elevator, which is masked by the sound of wind outside as it pushes through the underside of the shard. And if anybody does look over or kind of peeks out of the elevator, your eyes are met with something incredible. other than the vast amount of hanging prisoners. The lagoons of Vale below reflect the overlight back up. You don't see Vale. All you see again is the overlight. It's beautiful and warm, and it's as if you could jump and fall forever. For those burdened by living their lives in this place, it is also the thing that haunts them. And for
Charlie?
a second, you don't even know you're on Hark.
Do you know what they did? How they got here?
Stories aren't clear. This is a place for the worst of the worst, they say. Though I begin to believe that perhaps it's more like the ones that they would rather people stopped talking about. Tikra, you know that we're here for a very important mission, but as we pass through, if any of us see this man, well, perhaps we can at least have a conversation with him. That certainly couldn't hurt.
Just look at his face. He's handsome, right?
What are
course
they
he
looking
is.
at? Tell them what they are seeking. They're Harkin.
Harkin, I imagine it's a figure that it's a kind of like a weird mix of two different things, right? You can see this figure in two different ways. On one hand, you can see this figure sort of like a thick eyelashes, dark eyelashes, kind of like a thick hair that's sort of very wavy and slightly curly. Kind of like you can see this person as like romantic outlaw figure, you know, that seems really dashing and handsome and amazing. But also, you can also see this person as a hardened criminal who probably murdered people, right? Like it's this like this is a criminal. Like this is a person who has got like a scar on their face, and that might be like romantic, or a signal of someone who's been in a lot of knife fights. And it's this a person who the image on the poster is the person looks young, right? The person probably looks like early 20s maybe, a young person that probably lived a little bit of a hard life, cocky, dangerous, and it's a drawing, right? It's because it's not a photograph, of course, it's a drawing, but it's a drawing that you could imagine a kid idolizing.
Sure, it's
right?
cool.
You know what I mean? Like if this is the only thing you know about this
it's
person,
cool.
It's cool, right? Like it's how cool and how dangerous and how neat. But the person does not look like a baker. what I would say.
It's not a fatherly figure.
No.
Okay.
No. Yeah.
Ikra, you know that he might not be here anymore. So don't get disappointed if we don't see him.
There are also thousands and thousands of people in this prison. It is, as far as the eye can see, people hanging 5 feet from each other. This place is massive. And because it's so massive, and it is in fact a labyrinth, your guide was kind enough to give you a map. But something changed this morning. Something in the overlight shattered. And your map is no longer just hand-drawn. Arrow to X marks the spot. The map seems to be a series of directions. 4 feet ahead. 10 feet to the right. 30 paces forward. Do a 180. And it continues to kind of give these step-by-step instructions. As if making it more difficult, almost, to keep track of where you are. And making backtracking also possibly difficult. If you are, and do get off this path, you will not be able to, like, backtrack and pick up where you left off. Thank you, chat, for that shatter bar. It gave me a great idea to fudge their map up a
Oh no.
Thank you. It just gave me a chance to be like, here's some conflict. Have fun. And yeah.
Charlie, I am a little scared to go in here.
We all need to take great care. And Charlie sort of sticks her arm out of the elevator a bit, just to show the wind on her fur. And I imagine it is quite strong.
It is quite strong. It probably actually it's like putting your hand out of a car window kind of quickly, and you have to catch yourself, and then you can press back against it. You can see the fur is horizontal, blowing constantly.
Aramis, do you mind if I stand on the other side of you? You know, so you can block the
Kind of a
wind.
good idea, actually.
That is very fine.
That's cute.
Thanks.
We should all take great care to hold on. Are there railings that we can hold
There
on to?
are some railings
Yeah,
and
okay.
things that you can hang on to. Some of it is rope. Just like rope in areas.
Seems-
It gets kind of rattly, like it goes from... Here's what I'll tell you. Just visibly looking, it looks as if they built this place, like this front end is all built out of the same thing, and they've expanded constantly. This is ever growing, which means at some points it changes to like wooden planks. Sometimes it like shifts over to other things. That there are these kind of phases throughout it. It is a hodgepodge mess of scaffolding bolted to the bottom of the island.
Well, don't let go. We'll keep moving surely. Tikara, before we go out there, how long is this set of instructions that was our map?
It's it's on whatever piece of paper. You kind of flip it over and you see it. It's like the top chunk, but it's written like written. So based on what you've got, I mean, you've got 400 or 500 paces to go in the total of the map in it itself. But it's very direct instructions as to where you're headed.
All right, so Tikra, would you mind just holding on to that? And I'm going to. She pulls out one of her notebooks. I'm just in case. I'm going to make a copy of it.
Okay.
Smart. Very smart. You jot it down a second time.
Just in case, and then I will securely. Well, I mean, what am I going to do? But I'll put it back in my bag and just make sure my pack rather, and just make sure that it is sort of loop it through one arm this time and have it sort of ringed around me as best I can, so that if that bag falls off, it's because I'm falling off. Which of course we also would like to avoid for the record.
Right, yeah. You probably say out loud, who is first out of the elevator?
Tikra would totally like scamper out and like 3 points of contact at all times. But because you know how okay, look, when I was her age, I would ride my skateboard down this hill in San Francisco wherein you could not
so
stop.
Dangerous.
It was so it was like because it was San Francisco hill, so it was like super steep, and at the bottom of the hill there was a stop sign, so the person going down the hill would have to stop, and the cross traffic would not, and I could not stop myself at the bottom of this hill, so I could have just been hit by a car, but I had no sense of mortality whatsoever.
Okay.
I was just like, woo, this is fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll tell you this. The wind presses against you, Takara. It does not knock you off. We're not talking like 40 or 50 mile an hour winds, not tornado, but it is enough to make everything, really what it does is it makes the scaffolding feel unsafe. That's really the scary part. As you put your foot out there looking for solid ground, it's not there, and you're hanging on to something that in and itself is swaying with nothing beneath you. That's what's so scary, and you keep that 3-point contact as you kind of ease your way out there. It does push against you. Your clothes bat to one side. Your bags, anything that hangs at your hip joins it. And you kind of turn around, your face maybe even like pulling a little bit. There's like high, adorable, fat little kid cheeks. You kind of look back at everyone to show them that it's safe.
And kind of exciting.
And kind of exciting. You're like a dog with the window down.
And she, of course, is just looking at these. And of course, I imagine there are like, what, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of cells. Like if it's an entire
You can't
continent
see
wide,
the end of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an entire continent wide. You can't see the other end.
but she's just looking for the person they're here for.
Of course. And your eyes back, left and right, kind of looking like a child in excitement. Their feet kind of carry them forward, Charlie, realizing that as you move, you need to follow the map.
Because
So-
she has a copy of the map, so she's like, ooh.
Right. Oh boy. Okay.
Charlie gave her one was a good idea.
Well, you no, I let you keep your copy of the map. I kept mine.
So I
Uh,
need somebody for the party to roll the navigation of this place. You do have the map, so just know that it will be a little bit easier on you. I would say a survival, because this is like almost like map reading and following the instructions.
Yep. I can do that.
Okay. I would also say you could probably do. Yeah, no, I think it would be a survival in this case.
Yeah,
I think.
no,
Or
that's what it is.
intuition. I would take intuition, but that's gonna be just more like, are we safe, and less like, how am I navigating the map? Okay,
And
2.
2 successes.
while they're doing that, I am going to look up at Aramis and like wait for him to step, and when he does, like step with them.
Yeah.
And then like if I hear somebody groan, I'm gonna like reach out and grab his arm, like super jumpy, like just
Yeah.
like, yeah. And
But-
and you know, and then if he like was to look down at me, I like no shame can tell I'm terrified.
No.
heights clearly are not Maddox's thing, and I'm sure Aramis is actually a bit weighted. So
Yeah, I mean, like you can hear the scaffolding kind of creak a bit as I step onto it.
yeah, like it doesn't give in terms of like, it doesn't feel like it's gonna fall through, but it definitely feels the weight of all 4 of you, especially Aramis. But Aramis, your feet once again are here to save you, my friend. They're heavy and big, and there's a reason why the Pyroi use it as a sign of strength. It literally grounds you, and the wind pushes you. You can even kind of see some of the rust coming off of these in the wind, bracing against him. Just the aerodynamics of it just like coming off of him, as it does not move him, and he shuffles. And I would say, Takara, as you look around, you realize that Aramis, the way that Aramis shuffles down these, is very similar to the way that you saw the guards shuffle away as you rose onto the shard. And you're able to successfully count 1, 2, 3, 30 paces this way, hang a left, do a thing. It takes you quite a while, an hour time, I guess you could say, as you walk and you walk. People moan and groan. Some people beg for you to save them, beg you to save them. Some people dangle by their feet. One man sobs. You watch a tear drop into the overlight below. And if the moaning and the cries of people that hang here are not enough, you see your destination.
Whew.
It is down a very long scaffolding that doesn't branch off. It seems to isolate this cage, which is ornate, I guess you could say, in its own right, but also terrifying. The edges are jagged and kind of ground down to create these different shapes and frames around it. And inside, a creature, a folk. Furry, kind of reddish in tone. And they're wrapped in this kind of vining plant life.
I love the Bunyari.
Me too. I was like, I have to make one of my NPCs one of these.
I love them so much.
But the plants, though large, that kind of enwrap this creature, which is somewhere between the size of like a large field mouse and a badger. It's kind of a long snout, little whiskers, little ears. They also look older. The tips are grayed. The plant itself is massive to show its age, but it decays around the edges. It is old. It rots in this prison, away from direct Overlight. And this creature is kind of bound here. You can actually see it on your roll 20, and I'm going to transition for everyone at home. It is... You're unsure if it's alive or dead. Their eyes are closed. What's strange to you, and Takara, you are sure that you followed the map. You did good, and you followed instructions. You counted, you looked, you did not see your dad.
Kept looking for that too, though.
You kept looking for it too, but you did not see it. Not this time. This creature doesn't move, and you know you've got here, but they don't wear an eye patch.
They don't have an eye patch.
I think Charlie would have been trying her best to follow along with the instructions as well, and presumably she is sure also that we...
Yeah, you're sure you made it, but this person doesn't... They don't wear an eye patch, so that doesn't mean they're not missing their eye. But from this distance, at what is probably 50 or 60 feet of scaffolding out where they're isolated, kind of on their own, dangling in this prison, you don't see an eye patch or anything that alerts you that they are a one-eyed creature.
Well, so far, the two of the items that we have procured through somewhat surprising and not perhaps the expected means. So I agree with you, Tikra. You followed the instructions perfectly. Not surprised. So perhaps we go and speak with this. Do I recognize it as a Banyari?
You do, instantly.
We should speak with this Banyari.
Yes.
Okay. Can we get closer?
Yeah, of course you can. You can definitely get closer. The scaffolding connects, it goes straight out, but it does mean you have to go kind of single file. Like there's nothing branching off from this. You're kind of single file down it all the way till the cage, where it just ends.
Are there guards around?
You can roll a perception, not an observation, right? Perception, yeah. You can roll a perception if you want to look, like really search for them.
Yes, because, always on the paranoid part. Always on the paranoid part.
Oh my god, my cat.
3 successes.
Woo!
Wow, you look around. Tikara, you've been pretty observant this whole time as you traveled and you followed the instructions. You would note that you do see these larger, very solid structures. They're built much closer, kind of to the edging of like larger pieces. These are probably guard towers, and there seem to be, at least as far as your eye can see, you can pick up 2 of them. You have not crossed their threshold yet, like you've not had to pass them, but you don't see any guards. You have not seen any guards, and especially none that match the gentleman you saw rising up to Hark.
And I just point out the guard towers to the group. I think guards are probably there, but I don't see any, but I bet that's where they live.
Aramis, could you keep an eye on those towers while we go and have a quick chat with this Banyari?
Immediately, Aramis, you see him sort of crack a smile as he pulls his massive great axe off of his back. Aramis would be glad to.
I'll stay with Aramis.
Don't let go, Maddox. Be careful. We'll be right back.
And you ground yourself. Aramis is probably single-handedly more solid than even the platform he's standing on. As you grip tight. And Aramis, you watch. No guards. You don't see anyone except for the mass side of the people that are imprisoned here. The other 2 of you make your way down, all the way to the end. This, like I said, this prison seems to be built specifically for this folk, and they are currently, their eyes are closed, as if maybe they're sleeping or possibly dead. You're unsure.
Hey.
you see a smaller creature. A bug, almost. Cricket-like, or some kind of praying mantis, as it pops up from behind their head and almost sits on the top. And they grab hold of the hair tufts hanging on, because the wind is, of course, like whipping and blowing, and they hang on. And from this teeny creature, you hear a rather clear voice. It says, "Go away. You should not be here."
But we are here.
What do you want with the Ancient One?
Does Charlie have any idea what this thing is?
Um,
And why it is talking?
it is another banyan.
Uh-huh.
They are much smaller, and their plant, or the kind of a piece of that is attached to them, is just a small like weed flower. It kind of pierces up over their back, but they're a much smaller version of this, right? And they seem to be like almost like chest out. They're like here to protect this creature, and they seem to be speaking maybe for it. You're not exactly sure. But yes.
We're on a mission.
You did not answer my question. What do you want with the Ancient One?
We're on a mission.
Between us and the Ancient One.
You have come a long way to simply look.
We intend to do more than look. I can see that you are a fierce protector of the Ancient One, but we do need to speak with the Ancient One.
Does this person, this little small one, have more than one eye?
Yes, they do. They have like little stalk eyes, like almost like a crab or some kind of critter. They blink and they say, "The Ancient One has not spoken in millennia."
Millennia?
How long is that?
That's 1,000 years, Tigre. Now, can you think of something that has to do with what we're doing here now that might have happened less than 1,000 years ago?
Right. Yes. Okay. So could we speak with the Ancient One? It's really important.
The creature kind of poofs up again and looks down, because of course it's kind of hanging almost above you as they look down at you, and their voice projects again and they say, "Shatu Hawk does not speak to anyone."
That's fine. I think we can speak with this individual. Obviously, this very important guardian of Shatu-Hak must also be intimately familiar with the 500-year ritual to preserve the Overlight.
What? And it kind of pulls forwards, its stalks like jut out your direction, kind of in this caricature way. It goes, "The ritual."
It's not actually the response that I expected, but that works too.
Yeah, right? You said it, and it almost like sparks something, and it kind of judders in its little buggy shell, and it goes, "I've been told that someone may come."
That's us.
Oh, you should talk to them. What?
Charlie's fists just sort of like clench and unclench so she doesn't say anything.
Yeah. There's that moment of like, I just want to say I told you so. I just want to say I told you so. And the critter like looks at both of you, trying to make sure that this is like for real, that you're not just like pulling their leg, because this is the moment they've trained for. And it scutters away using the fur to kind of cling on, and actually goes inside these rather large ears of this creature that also are kind of furry, and it loses itself, and you even lose sight of it for a second. And there's a moment where both of you think that maybe it's not coming back.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, you're like, Tikra, like,
be ready.
Yeah, this Banyari, something in its chest that maybe you thought was a harness or was attached to like the scaffolding holding it here, lights up
Oh.
green. This kind of very low, light ember in color, and you realize that that piece in its chest is actually inset into its body, as if you're peering into a piece of itself. And this creature, you can hear it, the chains kind of creak as it raises its head very slowly, a little bit of gray on the tuft to make a small beard. And as they open their eyes, you see the same kind of green color, as if their body is taken or possessed in some way. But in the other eye, as it opens, it is definitely not the same. Some kind of toothed plant is now living inside of the canal, the cavity itself, almost like a Venus flytrap. Tight.
I'm sorry, I missed when we switched to Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah, right. At that moment of like, what?
When was that?
And its eyes like closed, and this creature simply looks up, and it speaks to you. Its voice carries in this kind of mystical way on the wind, and it says, "You have come."
Yes.
What do you seek?
Hello. It's nice to meet you. We're Skyborn.
Skyborn. Many have come to this place. Many have died in this place.
We do not intend to be counted among the dead, but I believe we have come. This is the thing in the eye that's talking to us. I just want to confirm.
It is the mouth of the creature. The Venus flytrap
Okay.
in the eye stays tight, closed,
Okay,
as if
closed,
not in
closed.
bloom. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We have come for that which I think perhaps you are familiar.
It's as if it
Fi-
hears its plant speaking to it. The eye tightens.
500 years have passed since the Overlight was dedicated by the Novapendra on the top shard. Are you familiar with the ritual? Do you remember the last time?
The last time they imprisoned me here.
Who did? Who did that?
Those who felt they were worthy. I felt they were not. Tell me,
Did-
Skyborn. And you see they kind of look over and take in the other two, which are standing guard. And then look back at you. If you free me from this prison and take me home, I will give you what you seek.
Tikra seems to have no problem because again, Tikra doesn't really have like Tikra's sense of like people in prison
Right.
being deserving to be here is
Yep.
not
Yep.
attuned to what everybody else is like. Tikra's like, oh, okay. Like so like Tika just sort of like Tika nods when hearing this as if this would not be a problem at all. I don't know how everybody else feels about it, but like Tikra doesn't see a problem in this just because I mean her dad's there and he doesn't deserve to be there, so like this being probably doesn't deserve to be here either. And also like we were told to go and meet the person, so like she's just like all in. So she's not she's all in on this one.
Charlie's not exactly all out. I mean, for her, it's like, you know, whatever. It's a real balancing act. Whatever havoc this individual might potentially cause, if in fact they are rightfully imprisoned here, could it possibly be worse than not rededicating the Overlight? Like, that's a. Yeah.
Can Aramis and I hear the voice on the wind or no?
Good question. I will give you both an observation for this or like a perception, because you are like, this is much further away and you're actively trying to listen. Now I will say you see the creature awaken and you see like this kind of green ember and kind of glow from their belly and their one eye, which is very clear. The plant is probably far too subtle at this distance, but you would see the glowing of the eye. Let me know what you get.
Oops.
Perception. Perception, wisdom,
Ooh.
perception. Wowzer, Aramis. Okay. Maddox rolls. Okay. Wow.
Nice.
Wow.
Nice.
As the both of you stand there, you do hear it on the wind. Both of you are at high alert because you are like currently actively watching, and you can hear it. Only what they are saying on the wind. Nobody else's voice comes clear to you, and you hear them say, "Free me, and I will
No.
give you what you seek."
No.
And the creature looks back at Charlie and says, "I know that this place is unforgiving, but I'm dying here. A side effect I could not have planned for. I must return home."
You must understand our position, Ancient One. We don't know why you are here.
And they kind of hesitate as if they can't get it out of their, like they can't find the words to tell you why they were imprisoned. Instead, it is their friend, their watch, who kind of pops out of the ear, and you hear their voice go, "You're asking hard questions. The Ancient One, they were wrongfully imprisoned here."
On whose orders?
On those that would seek to take our land from us. Those who would seek to poison our folk. The green light that you see, it is a gift from the Overlight to be taken care of and warmed by only one Benyari. To house it and hold it, to nurture it. With that light, that power, they can continue to assure that our shard grows and does not disintegrate into the city like the one above us.
I'm gonna make that intuition roll.
Go for it.
2.
2.
A luminous success.
This creature has not lied to you yet.
So
Hikra,
why would
what
they
do you
put
think?
But why
Oh.
Why would they do that? Why would they put you here if you were so important?
Because, child, when the Ancient One last denied the Skyborn the gift that they possess, they felt that the penalty was death. Our people negotiated, and life in prison was what was decided upon.
But that's... Why would they... That's silly.
Not everything in the shards makes sense, child. I was tasked with staying here, to wait and watch. This tiny critter, the size of not even the palm of your hand, says to you, I traveled all the way from Banyan here, as all watchers of the Ancient One do. It is my time to assure that they are safe. And they are right. 500 years, most have forgotten that they even exist. Now is the perfect time to free them.
But they didn't forget. We were told to find you specifically.
Who?
We were.
Who told you to do such a thing?
The Skyborn.
The bug is like, I'm talking to a child. And like, kind of like pats its head.
Charlie is a little bit enjoying
Yeah,
this circular
watching it like
conversation.
talk in circles and looks over to Charlie for a more specific answer.
And after a brief staring contest of silence, Charlie will eventually say, the leaders of the various conclaves of the Skyborn Order called upon us to provide the necessary components for the ritual that will take place. They sent us to you.
You're
They
not forgotten.
did not forget you.
No.
And there is only one who could have shared such a thing.
Oh no.
And there's a moment as they kind of like look and recognize this kind of connection here. And again, a furrowed brow. And they say, "The Ancient One has spoken. They are neutral in all things, a vessel. They will give you what you seek, as long as you promise to hold up your end of the bargain. And considering the fact that Tanuak was denied the gift that they bear the last time a Skyborn was here."
Why was Tanuak denied? Why were the Skyborn not good enough? What happened? What did they do wrong?
Tikra, my dear, I have one question for you because I trust you.
Yes.
Are they telling us the truth? Were they imprisoned wrongfully?
Yes.
Then I think we have to hold up our end of the bargain, and we'll get stories from them once we're out of this place.
Okay.
And the camera
Is that
cuts.
all right? Uh-huh.
Okay. And the camera
Oh,
cuts.
no.
It weaves down the path straight and hangs a hard right and follows Maddox and Aramis. Aramis. There's a figure off in the distance. At first you thought maybe it was just the swaying and that you were seeing things. But a guard is headed this direction. 2 of them, in fact. They are, in fact, Harkin. They are not your size. But they wear strange weights on their feet, causing them to shuffle down the scaffolding. They also carry these elongated weapons, kind of like a spear, that has a point at the end and a hook. And you watch as they walk, they reach out with the hook and pull one of the cages into them, so you can see, like, watch them, like, pull it in. They kind of poke and prod and make fun of this one prisoner and let it go, and it swings back and forth. The man screams off in the distance. And they have not noticed you, but they are making their way this direction. Tikura and Charlie still stand there talking. You can't hear them, but very much speaking to this cage and this creature.
Why did you let the 2 of us go by ourselves?
So, question: the path to get to the other 2, are they? Is it between us and the
Yes,
guards?
they're gonna have to pass through you to get to them. You're basically between them.
Okay.
So they will have to pass you first, you and Maddox first.
Maddox, we have company. Go, get the others quickly.
And I'll, like, loosen my grip, and my hand hurts from how hard I was holding on to Aramis.
Yeah.
And
you don't realize it till the blood comes rushing back, and you get that
Yeah.
kind of sleepy hand.
and I'll hang on tight to any kind of railings or rope, and I'll make my way to the other 2.
You scuttle up behind them just as you hear Charlie say, "Okay," at them. You realize now there's a second creature as you've gotten closer, Maddox. This kind of little bug-like creature sits on the shoulder, hanging tight onto this rather incredibly old Benyari, sorry.
Okay. Charlie?
Charlie, are you good with machines?
Oh, technology is a bit beyond me, yes?
There's people coming, but what are you saying okay to?
The Ancient One here will be coming with us.
It looks up at you for the first time, Maddox, the actual creature. One eye green, one eye closed tight with some kind of plant life flora that's like inset into the eye socket.
Charlie, you are the smartest person I know, but We don't know what happens. What has happened?
We don't, but they have told us their side of the story, and I don't know about you, but Tikra hasn't been wrong about a person since we've met her. And she trusts them and believes them.
She could be wrong. They could kill people. We would be responsible.
They could. We'll keep them with us until we're able to suss it out, but I don't know about you, but I don't want to spend any longer here than we have to, and Maddox, whatever happens, we have to get what we came for. No matter what havoc they may cause, it can't possibly be worse than the end of the Overlight.
And
I-
Tikra pulls out
Wrongs.
some lockpicks out of her boot.
Of course she does.
You've got to reach pretty far to get to it. It's not like sitting over top of a platform. It's like off the edge, so you're gonna
Oh,
have
Lord.
to pull it in.
I am grabbing also
Okay.
the back of
You kind
Tikra.
of weight yourself. All right. Tikra, you
And Tikra just looks at Maddox with these lockpicks that she's put in her teeth in case she needs to scramble, and she looks for permission from Maddox.
I don't agree with it. I don't think it's right, but I trust both of you.
We'll
But-
do everything we can to ensure that everyone is safe.
And I go back to Aramis without really responding and let them know that the other two are releasing this
Okay.
ancient one.
I'm going to get a I need a roll for you to pick this lock, Takara.
That's mechanics,
Mm-hmm.
machinery.
Machinery, yep.
And lockpicks come with my class.
What's up? You reach over, massive lock. It is like, it's not been touched in a long time. Rust, the works.
Not the best. I'm very worried. Take a little bit of time.
Oh, here we go.
Bring it in there.
Okay.
Okay.
A 2.
I can just press the button, but I'm afraid.
Oh, no, that wasn't your roll. Oh,
That's
no.
that's the old one.
No,
Yeah.
I haven't pressed the
You
button.
tricked
'cause I'm
me.
afraid.
Do
No,
it.
I'm afraid. I'm afraid.
Do it.
No. No. No successes.
No successes. You go to pick, and it breaks. The lockpick breaks in your hand. This lock is rusted shut. It's going to need to be broken off.
I can't. It's broken.
And the camera cuts over to Aramis. We see Maddox in the foreground, or the background, kind of running up as Aramis, these guards are getting closer. And as they are poking and prodding and saying horrid things to these prisoners, one of them stops. And then the other one stops. You can't hear what they're saying, they're too far off, but both of them look right at you. And
I'm totally
yeah.
just standing there, and I've got my great axe, sort of, the pommel is up, and I'm just sort of, like resting it on the ground, just sort of standing there, chilling,
Aramis.
waiting for carnage.
Uh-huh.
And I'm gonna whisper, Aramis, be ready, they're letting it go.
I'm just fixated. You see a slight tilt of Aramis's head back towards her, and a nod, and then he turns back looking towards the two coming on the scaffolding.
They are trying to run, but they can't really run. They've got weights on their feet for good reason. And so they're kind of in this quick shuffle. And you can see the scaffolding sways under them, though it keeps them there. And they have this kind of a saunter about them as they move ever closer to you, Aramis. They're not there yet. And the camera cuts once again to Kakara and Charlie as you stand there, realizing that this massive lock is not going anywhere without somebody breaking it off.
That sounds like an Aramis problem, but Aramis has a problem already. All right, well, I'm a big monkey lady, and my might isn't terrible, so I guess I'll try and... Oh, heavens.
Here we go.
I will see what's happening and try and just grab it and
Give it a yank, yeah.
I
Yeah,
imagine I'm on
give
top
it
of this cage at this point in time, like trying to fiddle.
No luck.
Oh boy.
And it's just like it broke off. We get these kind of much larger hands that pass over it, and we get
Oh, boy.
a.
What are we calling it?
Oh, I would say if you want to. Oh, I don't know what you have. Athletics is fine. I would also take
Not much.
a brawl if you wanted to do brawl.
Yeah, that probably feels like.
Because you could
makes the
like
most
burst
sense.
it open like with your hand, like actually break it the way you might with like the butt of a weapon or the hilt of a weapon.
Okay. Oh boy. Okay. Skill check.
Monkey rage.
Basically.
And then monkey rage, yes, and then that, and then that. Okay, here we go.
Yes.
Yes.
You witnessed something,
You don't
Takara.
have anything in brawl.
No. Takara, you witnessed something. Charlie, who from the beginning, since the moment you met them, has been poised and put together and always has the right words. You witnessed something incredible. With brute force, they take their hand and simply smash it down on this lock at just the right logical angle. The perfect physics, and the whole thing crumbles just where the rust is and it falls off. And
Wow.
yeah, you are able to help
Charlie's as surprised as you are.
yeah, there's kind of, I'm sure there's like a pause moment between the two of you as you both look at each other, and you can begin helping the creature down, which obviously you'll have to like release the arm holds and those kind of things as one of you like holds the prison like forward, and so it takes both of you. As the camera cuts once again, they're getting closer, Aramis. They are, I would say, they're shouting now, and you can understand them. They're like, "Hey, you there! You're not supposed to be here!" They don't yell stop
Yeah,
where you are because you're not running. So they just kind of are yelling at you, and they're like, "Hey!"
I just picture, I can't remember what movie it was, that scene with the Zamboni where they tried to run over the person with the Zamboni. And it was a comedy. And I'm just sort of like standing there waiting for this slow movement of these guys.
They're like,
coming
they're
down.
like shuffling with 10-pound weights on their feet, you know, as they get ever closer to you.
As they come towards me, I just sort of lean back over my shoulder. Stay here, Maddox.
You
And
could
I
meet
start
them this turn if you wanted.
Yeah, I start sprinting towards them.
Nice. You're used to the weight on your feet. It is how you're built. And you cut the time in half between you and them. And as you run up on them, they have these kind of like spears, forward and kind of they're poking at you. They're trying to keep you at a distance.
Now, what do I have to do to channel Chroma?
You will roll it, and then you will spend the same amount of points that you roll on your spirit die to do so.
Okay, so I am going to.
Yeah, tell us about this chroma. How does it work?
So it's
Yeah.
ever burning valor.
Oh, okay. What does ever burning valor do?
It's part of me being a fire thing.
Okay.
Virtually all young Pyroi dream of the heroic deeds and profound courage of the fire things. It's sort of what's used in songs and so on and so forth. So the greater the enemy's number, like the more I'm outnumbered, the more damage I do. It sort of feeds into rage.
Oh,
So
got it.
it's-
Yeah, it like boosts you,
Yeah.
the valor. Yeah. Okay, great.
Yeah. So it also counts for my allies. So if we're outnumbered, and that's why I told Maddox to stay back, so I could be outnumbered in this.
Sure. So you feel okay. That makes sense. I would say then that you have put distance between yourself to make that a reality. So roll it up based on the die and the two sets of die that it uses. I'm guessing then it would be might and brawl in this case. Your might and brawl, is that what
Okay.
activates the
Yep.
chroma?
No, it's usually Chroma are always two virtues.
Oh, that's right. So it would be might and
What's the name of it?
All the ones that are, I've got it pulled up right here. One
Yeah.
second.
Yeah, so it's will and might.
Yeah.
will and might. Great, perfect. So roll will and might die pools along with your spirit die.
Okay. Let's see. That would be.
Oh yeah, you guys got candy. You got mystery stones. You guys getting all kinds of stuff.
But we need candy from this place, and it's gonna be gross.
I was about to say candy on Hark is boring.
But
we
you
just
gotta
don't know what
have
any
it.
of it does.
It's true. There's only one way to find out.
Well, that's true.
Okay, here we go.
Nervous.
I'm nervous too.
Okay.
Noivus,
Okay.
That'll do.
Okay.
Okay.
2 and a 1 on the spirit die. So you.
So you get
Cheap.
Yep, that's
one extra
good.
damage.
So that cost me 1 of my spirit pool, correct?
Great, right, because you rolled a 1 on your spirit die. You got 2 successes, and in combat, the way combat works is they take a damage per success. So how do you attack them and deal 2 damage?
No, this is the setup first, right?
I was gonna say that was the.
Oh,
chroma, right?
that's right. That was the chroma. So the chroma adds
Yeah.
what 2 to the roll now for the brawl.
So
one extra damage.
Well, so hold on. So what's defined as luminous, radiant, brilliant?
So luminous is 2 to 3 successes,
Okay.
radiant is 4 to 5, and then brilliant is 6.
Correct.
Yeah. So 1 extra damage to the attack.
Great, when you roll the attack. So now we can get your might and your brawl roll, and then we'll add the 1 to it at the end. There we go.
Alright.
First major combat, y'all.
What are mechanics?
What are mechanics? We tell stories. Do. Yeah. Okay, so Chroma was activated successfully. It only caused a spirit die. Great.
Okay.
Okay.
3 damage, I guess.
3. And you got the 4 on the spirit die. That does something. Doesn't it? No, it doesn't. Okay.
No, the
It
4
adds
does
to
do
his
something.
fury pool.
That's
So it gives
right.
him a fury
You get a
point.
fury point, which you can basically exchange a fury point like you would part out of your spirit pool. That's right, because we're in combat. So, you rolled a 3, which is 3 damage. These are guards, but they are just Harkin. So the first one kind of comes at you with this like jabbing motion. How do you defeat them?
Yeah. So he comes at me with this jabbing motion, and because of my size, even with his spear, I'm assuming my arms are quite long, and then with the extension of my great axe, I'm not even going to use it to cut. I'm going to use it just to bludgeon. So I'm taking the side of the great axe and literally just trying to smack him off the scaffolding.
Yeah, I'm sure he kind of goes to poke at you, and as he leans in, it's just enough for your arms reach, and you reach out with the full flat swing of this axe as you flap them across the face, and they go falling over the side. You hear them,
Bye.
Yep, there they go. And the second one steps up. He is not pleased. He looks a little scared and a little terrified. And he's going to get a turn.
Yeah.
He pokes at you with this. Oh no, I need to do. Yeah, no chroma here. Correct.
Yeah, correct. I
Correct.
think you
Yeah.
do a
Just the regular skill check.
Yeah.
you do a physical check.
They
Yeah.
rolled 2. And they reach out and do 2 damage on you. This time actually hitting like a softer piece of meat as their spear kind of just like glides over and gives you this kind of cut across your arm. So on the health track, just on your sheet, you'll see there's like boxes up it. So you would start marking from the bottom up, I believe.
Top down.
Top down, I'm sorry.
down.
Oh, you're right, top down, because the red box is at the bottom. So top down,
Yep.
as you begin marking through them. And he does 2 points, and is kind of in this leaning forward motion. It is now your turn.
Okay.
I just yell, Aramis, when I see that Aramis gets hurt.
Yeah, you see like the cut, but you're trying to help this ancient
Yeah.
creature down, and you're trying to concentrate on not falling off of this.
Yeah.
But you can see back in the background, Aramis is in combat with these 2 guards.
So as the spear sort of finds purchase in my stony skin, I'm a bit shocked, but then the magma like blood starts to drip out.
Yeah.
And I look at him and I go, no one makes me bleed my own blood.
Ooh. He gives out a small squeak. What do you do?
So can I trigger another chroma?
You sure can. As much you can trigger them as much as pool you got to spend. Just make sure you don't
Right.
shatter, which is when you spend more than you have.
Yeah. Okay. So I am going to thirst for copper this guy.
Cool.
So basically, I immediately. Well, hold on. Where is it? During combat, the GM will inform you an opponent. Oh no, wait. So what's his total health?
I need to
Right.
tell you his total health.
Yeah, because
He has.
So
He has 8.
okay, so I can't actually trigger this until I do a bit of damage to him. So-
Okay. Yeah, he hasn't taken any. The other guy fell off the side, and that's how he died.
Okay, all right. So yeah, let me just do a normal attack then. Okay,
You get 1 extra damage.
I would also
I'm not
say...
outnumbered anymore, so I do not.
Yeah,
Oh,
I would also say that you probably recognize that there's this kind of feralness to these men. They don't look like the rest of the Harkin from above. That their time down here has kind of turned them into these kind of monsters in a way. A feralness in their eyes and the way they kind of growl and fight, and obviously just how damn mean they are to everyone.
Gotcha.
Okay, let's ground that roll.
Ooh.
Okay. Wow. How do you deal with your
Wow.
4 points?
So as he's driven the spear into my arm, I sort of let go of my great axe intentionally, and you just see this Maddox, who'd be the closest. She just massive hand reach out and just grab this guy by the skull and start squeezing.
He cries out as you grab their head. They even drop the weapon that they're using. It whooshes off the side. And you watch as their head is literally being crushed. They scream bloody murder as you deal 4, which is half of the damage, their bodily damage, as they begin to take brain damage from this attack. It's a rather visceral one. They are going to try to fight back. With another brawl check, which theirs is, we hearken. Okay, they rolled a 2. They kind of fight back and they kind of claw at your hands, trying to get them off their head. I'm sure that you do not let go, as they're begging you, stop! And you'll get another attack on them.
Okay. I'm just gonna keep tightening my grip.
And you keep tightening until you hear a crunch. They are dead as their body goes limp. Do you drop them off the edge or do you leave them?
Oh yeah, I totally fling him over the side.
Fling them over the side. The camera pans back over. We see Maddox's face, shock. We've not seen Aramis let loose, doing what they do best. Charlie.
Full on casually, I just pick up my great axe and start walking back to Maddox.
That simple. And Takara, you have finished helping this creature down. As it does, you can hear kind of the eking of the vines and plants as they take up walking for this ancient one. That is, how they function. But I don't know that you've ever seen a Benyari before. This creature is one with this plant. They meld and weld in places. It's not like they're choosing to be together. It's that they just are. And it walks in this way. The vines almost wrap around different pieces of the scaffolding as you move forward, headed towards Maddox, where you see that Aramis is fine. They are 2 walking towards you. But Aramis, on your way back to Maddox, you're interrupted. By clapping. You look to your right and you see this haggard man. Beard, loss of teeth. His nameplate on his prison, simply reads Gonzago the Bloody Blade. And he grips the edges of it and kind of pushes his crazy face through. And he says, I've never seen anything like that. Let me out of here. I got someplace you can go. You could fight to the end of your days and we could be so wealthy.
Looking at him, because his kind of face is turned sideways, pressed up.
It's like between the bars. He's kind of almost a little crazy-eyed as he kind of peers through. You don't know the last time he's talked to someone.
So I sort of look at him. Do you have one eye?
No, I have both my eyes.
I just walk away.
Oh, wait! And Takara, you walk up just in time for you hear this man. His arm kind of juts out and goes, wait! And it draws your eyes. And you see a nameplate. The nameplate you have been searching for. It is off your path. But it
Dad!
definitely
I just
reads.
scamper that way. I just go.
As you run, you actually kind of scare the man, and he like pushes back. He's probably been abused quite a lot in this prison, and he kind of rushes to the back of his cell, surprised by this. And something inside of you, Takara, shatters. You see the nameplate. It says exactly the thing that's on the wanted poster. And maybe even you hold the poster up and you look at this man, and they don't even look like they could be the same person. Time and this prison has not been kind to them. And they look at you through these mean eyes. And you hear them say, "Dumb child. Don't scare me like that. Give me a heart attack."
No,
Hey, get your friend to let me out of here.
No, I'm your daughter.
What?
Tikara, I'm your daughter.
I don't have a daughter.
No, you do. Eliana was my mom.
Eliana. Oh, yeah.
She
Oh,
she gave me this.
should have killed her.
What do you mean?
I mean, I should have never met her.
But
Tikara, we should go.
Hey, take me with you. I got a way off this rock, I promise. It is at this time,
and she's just holding the little poster.
and it's at this time that the Ancient One steps up. You hear it, the creaking of the vines. Aramis, Maddox, you kind of really get to lay your eyes on this being, the little creature riding in its fur, holding tight. And you watch as the vines actually take them up to the side of the scaffolding as it walks them, like past you and around you, and they put themselves between you, Tikara, and this man. And the Ancient One kind of leans in. In return, they lean back. And the Ancient One says, "You are this child's father. But only biologically." The Ancient One looks at Tikara and says, "Child, our fathers are not defined by whether or not they gave you life." And they kind of squat and get to your level, Tikara, and you get to look in this kind of ancient being's face, full of wisdom and knowledge. And a vine reaches up and kind of brushes your cheek, and they say, "This man has never been your father. Who has taken care of you? Who has helped you?"
And she just shrugs, but she looks towards Aramis. But like, it's that kind of like shrug, like I don't want to say.
I don't want to say, yeah. And the Ancient One would never force you.
But she looks towards Aramis, like in that shrug.
She goes, "Unfortunately, we cannot choose our blood, but we can choose our family, as I have chosen mine." And the Ancient One kind of looks over at this creature. It almost shudders with joy to be considered family to such a being. And they say, "Come. As I have not lied to you yet, this man deserves to be here. He is not good and does not channel the Overlight. Instead, he warps it and corrupts it through his actions." And of course he's like, "That's not true, kid. I'll be your dad. I'll be anything you need me to be." And he kind of shouts out and tries to convince you.
Immediately, this tree trunk of a fucking arm goes right through that cage and grabs a hold of him by his collar.
He chokes as the Ancient One doesn't
will
budge.
Be silent.
Not that it could talk, as its windpipe is closed, basically. And the Ancient One goes, "Come. It is time for us to leave this place." And they look over at Maddox, and then Aramis, and Charlie, and Tikara. And they say, "Do you trust me?"
We obviously do, Shatuhak. We let you out. But you're absolutely right. We should be going. And Charlie starts to sort of head back the way that we came.
They go, "Wait."
Oh, I know what's coming because I've read it, but Charlie doesn't, and she's going to hate it.
Wait. they say. And you can hear Aramis off in the distance, more guards, just doing their thing, rattling cages. They haven't noticed you yet, but they are coming. And Shatu Hawk says, "Come, if you ever wish to be who you are, Skyborn, you must take to the sky." And they put out their hand to you, Takara.
And in her hand, she's still got this wanted poster.
Great. And they say, "My hand?" And they kind of put the other one out to their other kind of extended limb out to Maddox. And they say, "And now each other's, quickly."
And Takara lets the wanted poster drop over the railing so that she can take the creature's hand.
This piece of paper flutters away past the man. Maybe he sees his face, a reminder of who he was, what he has done. As Aramis hopefully lets go of his throat to take the hands of their party, he chokes and gags and coughs, looking over at their child, only by blood, something that they never deserved to have. A Skyborn, a man of such horrific things. And the Ancient One says, "Now, do not be afraid, for you were born of sky, are you not?" And they jump over the edge, taking all of you with them. As you jump, the guards look, and the 5 of you fall. Maybe you cover your eyes, maybe you scream.
Oh, lots of screaming from Charlie.
As you hold each other and grip each other tight. And poof, you hit something solid. Maybe you're dead. Have you fallen all the way to Vale? Yeah, have you fallen all the way to Vale? But it hasn't been that long. Instead, you hear this sound, this interesting noise that lets out from the beast that you are now on the back of. This creature is only known to be from Banyan, but it is one of the great mist rays. Much like the manta ray as we know it, massive in size, it floats like a butterfly in the clouds as it has picked you up and is floating on these heavy winds. And the 5 of you ride off. As you leave this horrible prison behind, you skirt the outside and you can see it in its vastness. The prison. An interesting metaphorical reflection, even, of the city above it. A different kind of prison. A prison of folk attached to commerce. Great buildings. And below it, a place where people are forgotten. Where the horrid rot. And where creatures, like the Spaniari, are hidden away. This great mist ray lets out another cry. It sounds almost like a wail. As you break through the clouds, and the overlight bask and hits you all in the face. The great hanging prison is behind you now. And this creature that you have liberated told you when they arrive in Banyan that they will grant you what it is that you seek. And as you all ride off into this great white light up to the next shard, I have a feeling that Takara wants to say something.
Takara's got this kind of weirdly somber mood. Like, there's a lot to say, but she doesn't have a lot of those words at this point. But they're on this amazing thing. And she just reaches in to one of her pockets and she pulls out this little bag of candy that you did not see her buy. But you do remember walking through the marketplace where things like this were sold. Mm-hmm. And it's not fancy candy. It's like a little bag of little, like, penny sweets. Sort of cheap, probably more not great, right? But it's just this little bag of little penny candies that you would get only on Hark. And she pulls them out and she says, "My mom would always get these for me whenever we had money, extra money, and I wanted you all to have some."
What?
And she goes first to Aramis.
What do they taste like, Takara? If they are your favorite candies?
They're my favorite candies, and they taste vaguely like butterscotch.
Oh, okay. Kind of
It's like a-
creamy and rich.
It's a kind of a, but it's you know how there's like good butterscotch that's
Yes.
like fancy and
Yes.
really, really good,
Salted.
and then there's cheap butterscotch
Yes.
that is not as fancy and not as good. But
Yes.
if that's the only thing you know, it's the most exotic thing you could ever imagine,
Sure.
right? It's like this is like low quality butterscotch, but it's the fanciest.
This is your
right?
butterscotch. It's
This is my
personal.
butterscotch.
Yeah.
More money was invested in the wrapper than the candy.
Yes.
Yeah. And you could probably imagine like some sort of confectioners that are like in the back streets just sort of make this with the cheapest qualities and sort of put them out
Yeah.
quickly. You know, like sort of like just as not an assembly line, but like as sort of mass as you can make it in this kind
Sure.
of moment. And she just hands them first to Aramis.
Aramis reaches out and grabs one, and it's tiny in his fingers, and he picks it up and he kind of looks at it and looks at her and looks at her, and he puts it in his mouth, and not knowing, because he's never had this before, he literally just swallows it. Like it's
Nope.
and he looks over at Tikra. It was delicious.
And maybe you don't know this, Takara, but the belly of a pyroi can digest just about anything. And as the caramel just barely touches your taste buds, you can barely taste it, and it hits your belly, Aramis, you know that some things taste better the second time around, and a small belch releases as your belly quickly burns up this butterscotch, and you get the flavor, that salted, rich, buttery finish. Now with the little charred edge, you know, it never hurts to like smoke something real good from the inside out, but you get that belch, and I imagine that Aramis then says,
Sweeping the Pyroi Nation news, smoked butterscotch.
and it is definitely an interesting flavor, not anything that you've ever had before. They don't make butterscotch on Pyre, but you can see why Takara likes it.
And it's got like I imagine like a butterscotch with a hint of cinnamon, right? So it's a
Ooh.
little spicy.
Yeah, even better.
You know, in that way where it's like kind of like a you know those ones that you'd get with like in the little wrapper. They're
Yep.
like the kind of like little discs style.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, so it's like a little butterscotch with a little bit of a cinnamon flavor to it. And then she's gonna take it over to Charlie.
Well, Charlie is face down on this thing, grabbing whatever she can and clamped jaw shut so she doesn't scream.
It's okay.
Mm-mm.
So she's gonna unwrap it and then just put it in Charlie's mouth.
Maybe just kind of put it in the side, and maybe, who knows, maybe Charlie doesn't do well in flight. This is definitely rushing past. It's a rather large creature, so it's not like you're crammed on here, but there are no sides.
She
And-
thought the Pyroi balloon was bad.
Yeah.
This is beyond the pale.
Yeah, right? As you kind of are zooming up and through this overlight into the next shard. But a little piece of butterscotch or something thereof.
Like a butterscotch cinnamon.
Cinnamon, yeah, well, I don't know what they call it.
It's it's like its own little.
On
it's
heart?
probably something like what are the name of the currency like a hot butter quince, right? Like if you can imagine like the coin.
Yeah, like a little coin. So this little hot quince, this little buttery, spicy quince, slips in your mouth, and it does rather ground you. It gives this kind of warm feeling when you're eating it, like
Comforts me.
yeah,
like what?
like that, like a comfort. It's a comfort almost in this time.
It comforts me just enough that I'll sort of raise my head and say, Thank you, Tikra. We can talk about the candy later. When I'm not at risk of reliving it in the opposite direction. And then she puts her head back down.
And you bury it into this massive creature, this mist ray, which, by the way, is kind of this like whitish gray. It blends with mist, is why it's known and why it's called that. And I'm guessing you save Maddox for last.
I do. I do. And then like I scamper over, because once I realize that you can move on this thing, then I move.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Plus, you're a kid. You're not again, like you said, you're not afraid of it. Kids can do crazy shit
True.
that adults just can't.
And would never want to.
I would never want to. Yeah.
Maddox, would you like one?
I'm gonna reach past Tikra's hands and her like messy, unkept hair. I'm gonna tuck her hair behind her ear and just give her like knowing eyes, like, I see where you came from and I see what you've been through. And you're the bravest person I know, Tikra. And then I'm gonna fold her hands back up around her own candy, and maybe you should save this for when you really need it, to remind you of your mom.
And then she just takes one out and she hands it to you anyway.
And I'll take it. And, you know, knowing that that's what's going to make Tikra feel better, she's going to eat it.
And then Tikra leans in and she says, Charlie's really beautiful too.
Charlie is very beautiful.
Look over, face down, hugging the man.
Lets out at that moment. She just, like we hit a little like
Turbulence.
warm patch.
Turbulence.
Yeah, little turbulence, and you just hear her go.
As the sound lets out, it's so cute.
Aramis sits
The
down.
least beautiful
Aramis
voice.
sits down next to Charlie and just puts a big weighted hand on her back.
Like a weighted blanket, a little comfort.
You will not fall.
And
Just the slightest nod, and the whimper subsides a little.
the Ancient One sits near the front of this creature that you ride, near what would probably be considered the head, in a meditative stance. They don't know the last time their limbs have not been in a hovering position, and the branches kind of wrap around them, almost creating a chair for the creature that it shares a vessel with. And it doesn't say anything. Its little friend on the shoulder. Does anybody do anything else or want to do anything else before the end? Because we are coming up on it.
I'm just gonna try to like cuddle in on Maddox. Just like a little, you know, if Maddox is sitting there, and then I'm just gonna cuddle in on Maddox. You know, just because we're both in the same place. It's okay.
Of course.
Yeah, little snuggies. Having somebody, anybody, for a child of homelessness and somebody that you trust is important. And Maddox, Tikra kind of scoots up next to you, and the meditating Ancient One, just the plant, like, turns them around. The creature, the furry creature, doesn't move. And they look up at the two of you specifically, and they smile. At least that's what you think it is, this kind of toothy, crittery grin. And the Ancient One says, Tikara, you are a very special Skyborn. Remember, you are not defined by your parents. You are defined by the decisions that you make. And this one, and they look over, is right. You are very brave.
I have good friends.
All brave people do. It's what makes them so brave. Our flight should be quick, but you should all rest. will be to Banyan soon. And the vines spin them around again, and now you stare at the back. And you realize, maybe for the first time, that the back of this creature, where the vines all kind of connect, actually create almost like a Venus flytrap on its backside that's kind of closed up, almost like the way a turtle might wear a shell. And it's kind of what all these vines connect to. And it sits there. And as the four of you maybe drift in and out, Charlie, if you manage to even open your eye, something incredible happens. This Miss Dre continues its journey, and as the Ancient One meditates in full freedom for the first time, basking in the overlight from above, which is now warmer and brighter as you've moved your way up the shards, the large plant on its back, this kind of closed pod, begins to open. Very slow at first, but it slowly begins to widen itself. And it opens up, and you see on the inside is no mouth. It's not scary, but a very large flower begins to bloom. It seems to be a protective shell, maybe, for such a thing. It's incredible. Nothing like you've ever seen. And as you travel up to Banyan, behind it, you leave this stream of pollen that glitters in the overlight as it dusts behind you. And you are left with the sight of an ancient flower that has not bloomed in 500 years. It sits open and absorbing the overlight, and the green light in the chest of this small Banyari glows ever brighter, a beacon that leads your way to the green shard. The green shard of Banyan. And we'll pick up Banyan next week, because we're at time.
Woohoo! Can I collect some pollen, the golden pollen, and then hand it to Maddox? Like,
Sure,
put my hand out?
yeah. Same thing, you kind of break it through and wipe it off. Yeah, you're able
hand
to
it to her.
collect some if you'd like it. It's this beautiful kind of golden yellow color if you want to add it to your mix, Maddox.
And then also from my other hand, some of the nasty dirt from Hark. If she
Yeah,
would
this,
let
like-
some of that.
This is different kind of dirt than from Pyre. This is, than like the gray ash. This is like a reddish rust. That comes off the bottom, and you can add it to your mixture as well. Man, you gotta have so many beautiful pigments of all the shards. I love that that you're that you're getting to collect, and that's so fucking cool. Okay, that's it. Let's go around. Quickly tell us who you are and where we can find you online. We gotta go right after this, gang, because we got an after show to do. After show is available to our Patreon supporters. I've seen a couple of you join Patreon over the last few weeks, so thank you so much for coming in and supporting us and wanting access to more content. So we're gonna go get all of our feels out in that. So if you want more feels, if you want more talking, that's one place that we do it, is in our after show, but you can also join the Discord if you just want to have a place to text chat with us throughout the week, and share your love of Overlight. And we're actually going to go backwards. Let me go back so I can see your faces bigger faces. We're going to go backwards. So Jason, you're up first. Tell us who you are, where we can find you when you're not here.
Jason T D&D DM from Twitterverse. Another great show tonight. It was emotional at first and then visceral at the end. So
Yeah.
it was spread the whole gamut. So I'm curious to see how we handle getting whatever we have to get from this Ancient One, because I'd be willing to bet they're going to be a bit averse to parting with it, but
I think
I
we
suppose
got
we
it.
shall see.
I think we got it. I think some of these things are symbolic. I think we got it.
You think you got it.
Maybe. I don't know.
We'll find out. Plus, let's be real, you're also, and this will be after show content, more of it, but you are also returning an ancient being to its home, which in itself is going to have interesting repercussions. Not bad ones, just cause and effect.
No, sure not. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. Anything else, Jason? You want to let the lovely people at home know? And actually,
No, it was again great show, great cast, great audience. Like
yeah,
I'm
right.
so honored to be
Yeah.
a part of this. I've never seen. This is just so much fun.
Yeah.
I'll still put it. It's great.
I'm glad I haven't run you off yet, and you haven't gotten tired of me because you play a lot over here. So I'm glad I haven't run you off. And I just dropped some. Everybody's Twitter links are in chat, so if you want to follow them and you haven't already, go grab them right out of chat. Eugenio.
Hey everybody, I'm Eugenio, also known as DM Jazzy Hands. You can see in the chat at DM Jazzy Hands on Twitter. I'm also the DM and producer of an actual play D&D podcast called The Last Refuge. We just dropped episode 140 today, I think.
Wow.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
We just dropped 150 for our podcast. I saw that today.
Yeah,
was like,
you did.
Damn!
Yeah.
So you up there with us, you know what that struggle's like.
That is a thing. So yeah, every Wednesday, you can find us on Twitter at DND Last Refuge, wherever podcasts are found, and our website, dndlastrefuge.com. I'm here Wednesdays. Thursdays, I'm over on Wandering DM's channel playing a game of Dragon Age, GM'd by Cypher of Tyr by Tanya to Pass. Super fun. Thirsty Thursdays. Half of that cast is just very thirsty.
Let me tell you, the one time I played, everybody here on the dot line knows, the one time we played that game here, which was short-lived, I was a thirsty dwarf. I was thirsty for all of it. Nobody else was thirsty. Everybody wanted plot and story, and I just wanted the local blacksmith, so...
Perfect. That sounds about right. Yes. So if you want more of that, come check us out on Wandering DM's channel. Thursday nights at 8 Eastern. And then I occasionally stream on my channel here. I'm trying to be a little more regular about that. Stream a lot of Dragon Age because this game has gotten me into the video games. So
nice.
You can follow me and check me out on my channel here.
Cool. Trooper.
Yeah. Hello. I'm Trooper SJP. Woo! Pew pew pew. That's the excitement. This is amazing, and I don't know. I just think sometimes you have the opportunity to create great art with people who are willing to be vulnerable and present with you, and that is some of the best RPG experiences I have, and I love that this cast is a group of people for whom that is what we're doing, and I appreciate that very much. And you can find me on my channel Fridays at 7. I run a French Resistance campaign, City of Light and Shadow with Dot, and on Fridays at 1, I think that's true, I'm in a Cypher System sci-fi channel over on Tales from the Grim, which is super fun as well. Yeah, it's really good. So that's me, and grades are due on Monday, and then I'll be done with the semester. Woo! More or less.
All right. And Kai. Oh wait, you're muted. Locally muted?
Hi,
yeah.
I'm Stonefly_Kai on Twitter and Instagram. I am taking a little bit of social media hiatus, but I will be back. So if you follow me, I will be posting content again eventually. I'm part of a podcast called Fae Forge Academy. That's my baby, and I'm over on Kobold Press on Sundays.
Cool. I'm Dot. If you're here, hopefully you know who I am. This is the Dot Lot, which is a home for people to tell stories and roll dice. So thank you all so much. Oh my gosh, we just had another Shatterbar fill.
Who is that, Nurta?
Nurta, thank you so much.
Thank
the
you,
support
Nurta.
tonight has been
My
out
goodness.
of this world. That is 5 Shatterbars. That Shatterbar is going to have to take place at the top of next episode. Nobody let me forget. I need to think through what amazing thing we can do in Banyan next time. I am just blown away. So thank you all so much for your support. Know that all that you give to this channel goes back into this channel. It helps me do cool things like overlays. I've got a new artist coming in. Speaking of art, character art is on its way, so know that that is being paid for our cast, and more importantly, your money helps me pay this talented cast, which I am very passionate about, especially in this time when we've got freelance artists that are in need of the work. So thank you so much for every bit and tip that you give, for every dollar that goes to Patreon, and for every eyeball, 1 or 2, no judgment for the Benyari, which that comes to this channel and watches our shows, because it means so much. So we're gonna go spread all this love by rating another channel I'm Dot. You can find me online. Go follow me. I have social. Here's some social links for all of you. I do a lot of stuff. This Friday, Trooper. I would not be on Trooper's channel, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't watch because it's going to be a great one shot. So go check that out. My one shot will be coming up. You can be there for that later. And then when I'm not here, you can catch me Thursday nights GM and Coriolis. If you like dark sci-fi, this is the game for you. That's over on Unmade Gamings. And then this week, praise be, holy Lord, Vampire the Masquerade is back. I have been off 2 weeks, and you guys, I am jonesing. My new teeth are in from the company out of LA. I am stepping it up this week. So you best be ready because Dakota is coming full swing. Yeah, those are places that you can find me. If you want to get in on all of this, like I said, my Discord is a great place to do that. It's been a little quiet recently because I'm working a lot. So during the day, you can actually find me over on the Dad's Garage ATL channel where I produce and I'm helping manage our improv company's Twitch channel during this kind of tough time. So yeah, that's it. We're going to go raid. Everybody hang around. We're going to go raid Jasper's Game Day, which is, if you don't know, a tabletop charity event that they do annually that helps raise awareness for suicide and teenage suicide. It's personally a very important thing, and more importantly, it... you should go support it. Plus, it's more dice rolling and storytelling for a great cause. So we're going to go raid them now. Just hang around. It'll pop right up on your screen. And thank you all so much for being here. We'll see you next week. Same dot time, same dot channel.
Nurta!
Another bar. Nurta. I'm going to have to... Dakota hype. Okay. How about this? For those 50 bits, we will get super hyped up on the Dakota hype. I might even this Saturday do a full-on Dakota cosplay stream. Maybe Nerda, you just made that happen, so I'll get dressed up in Dakota live for all of you. And we will kick off with some